I'm so upset. Oh my God.
Let's see how Earth responds to that.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Jane Huger, Anna Kasparian with you guys. Looks like the war's back on. Looks like Casper was right. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. Disastrous news coming out of the Gulf. So I need you to buckle up because we're gonna also tell you how bad things are gonna get. So that's the reality today. You need to know it because for the last couple of days, almost everyone in media has been going along with a fantasy. Even they went along with it so much they got me to question reality. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about, oh my God, the terrorism that Israel is doing in Lebanon and Gaza, the horrors. And so, look, if you support Israel, you should watch this show because if you can stomach the actual reports from Israelis about what Israelis have done, then okay, all right, you're a special brand of fascist, then go ahead, everybody, the whole world's anti-Semites or whatever lunatics thoughts get you through the day. But we are definitively financing terrorists, and it makes me sick.
No, we 100% are. In fact, I encourage you all after this show, of course, please check out Piers Morgan's show from today, where he had Gideon Levy on. I love Gideon Levy, he's an Israeli, okay? And he is a person who has moral character, and I really, really appreciate him as a human being. Anyway, one thing that I get a lot of criticism for, Cenk, is I say that the problem with Israel isn't just Netanyahu. There's a cultural problem in Israel.
I've been saying that for some time.
People think that's anti-Semitic. You can go ahead and shove it.
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can
the
all
truth.
kiss our collective asses.
Yeah.
Anyone talking about anti-Semitism, shut up already.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're like, is your beloved Israel's in the middle of a genocide, and you guys are worried about your stupid feelings?
They're not even worried about it. They don't actually think there's anti-Semitism. They're weaponizing it for their own purposes, and it's disgusting. But anyway, what I thought was really interesting in that conversation, maybe I'll cover it tomorrow. There was another Israeli on the panel who was very offended by Gideon Levy's humanity and said that you're not an Israeli because no one who lives in Israel sides with you anymore. There's no party in Israel that believes the things you believe. So I just want to thank that genocidal monster for at least confirming something that I've been saying on this show, that Cenk has been saying on this show. It's not just a Netanyahu problem, it is a cultural problem within the country of Israel, where the majority of Israeli society looks at all of this bloodshed, looks at these rapes and murders, and they're like, we love it, they deserve it. We don't even see them as human beings, they're animals. That's it.
So we're gonna show you the horror stories, unfortunately, to prove our case. We're not just talking about this like generally. Nobody hates anyone other than the people actually doing something morally despicable. But I want you to, again, remember, the stories we're gonna share with you guys later in the show are from Israelis whose conscience is bothering them so much that they're going through massive mental trauma for how many civilians they murdered and how they murdered the civilians.
Or raped them.
Or all the other things that happened. So anyways, let's get started.
Well, we begin with yet another reminder that we live in a country where the government takes a huge portion of our earnings, and the very government that does that is incompetent and is destroying the future of not just our country, but our futures as individuals, as human beings. So let's get to the details. President Donald Trump just announced that he will indefinitely extend the so-called ceasefire with Iran. Indefinitely. So the ceasefire was hours away from expiring. And earlier in the day, Trump said very different things, of course. He just goes from one claim to another. Doesn't matter, changes minute by minute, hour by hour. Before I give you what we think is happening so far, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so Donald Trump has been lying about everything. There's not even any negotiations. As you're gonna see, JD Vance didn't show up, the Iranians didn't show up. He just made it all up. It's amazing. It's amazing. The only thing more amazing is that the media, who's been saying all along what a liar Donald Trump is, like, no, about the war, everything he says is true. Why? Well, as you're about to find out, it was all a fable, it was all a fantasy, and a disastrous war is headed in our direction imminently.
So Trump announced the indefinite ceasefire when it became very clear that the Iranians were not going to travel to Islamabad and they were not going to engage in peace negotiations until they got concessions from Trump. And Trump was unwilling to make any concessions while making demands of the Iranians that they're unwilling to move on. So as a result, Trump announced in a Truth Social post, based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, is it? What's the evidence of that? But okay, let's keep going. Not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of Field Marshal Asam Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. Okay, there is no indication that the Iranians do not have a unified proposal at all. At all. The Iranians have been very clear. The US blockade on Iranian vessels is a huge hindrance to us even thinking about engaging in negotiations with you. But Trump insists on keeping that blockade intact. Okay, so where's the fracturing and where's the different contradictory messaging here? I don't understand. But let me continue with the rest of Trump's ridiculous statement. He says, I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and in all other respects remain ready and able and will therefore extend the he didn't write this, extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other. It is a problem that the president's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, was literally one of the important figures in Benjamin Netanyahu's re-election campaign and helped him get re-elected. It is a huge freaking problem. She's the one who's the gatekeeper. She's the one who gets to decide what kind of information the president of the United States has access to, what types of conversations he's allowed to have. It is a huge problem when Israelis and their assets have infiltrated every nook and cranny of the US federal government and carry out policies that are favorable to the Israelis and detrimental to the American people.
So that statement by Trump was written by someone working for Israel.
Yeah.
And so when I say that, people like get all in their feelings about it, like, oh, how could you say that?
Who cares? Keep crying.
So hold on. Let me just, Susie Wiles, as Anna just told you, literally worked for Netanyahu.
He's a traitorous bitch.
We have Marco Rubio, we have emails from Larry Ellison saying he bought Marco Rubio for Israel. Hegseth wrote a book about how the IDF should be in American streets. What the hell is that? And JD Vance just went to a fundraiser where his wife sat next to Miriam Adelson. They hugged and kissed, and then they went to Loeb and Singer and all the pro-Israel donors and collected their cash. Do you think the pro-Israeli donors are stupid? There's a lot of stupid people in Washington, but the Israel First donors are not among them. They're not giving all that money to JD Vance because he isn't agreeing with their war. It's because literally everyone surrounding Trump, and including Trump, all work for Israel. So we were wondering yesterday, and I was the more skeptical one. Anna was more certain that this was all nonsense and we were going to go to war, and Anna was right, or re-enter war, right? And I'm mad at myself for ever believing anyone so stupid in mainstream media as to believe a word that Donald Trump would say. And so, like, since they were all unanimous, like not just mainstream media, but Wall Street, people I talked to in Dubai, like everyone was like, no, this is totally real. We totally believe Donald Trump. And it was all a mirage. It was, as usual, 100% lies. And so why are we saying that Israel's so relevant here? Because guys, we made no concessions. We set a ceasefire, and then Anna just told you we never even lifted our blockade. That was point one in the ceasefire, not like the 13th demand. The first demand was Iran open up the Strait of Hormuz and we cease the blockade. Except Israel said, shut up and go back to war. So we never lifted the blockade. We never gave in a single thing, and Trump kept going around. Again, this part we both told you super strongly was utter horse crap, was, oh, we won. they're gonna give us everything. They're gonna give us enriched uranium, and they're gonna let us dictate their foreign policy. All that was garbage. They were never gonna do any of that. And they don't have any leverage. What are you talking about? They're gonna block this, they are blocking the Strait of Hormuz. And the only reason why oil didn't go through the roof, guys, is because the idiot Wall Street traders believed Trump that the war was over and we had won. And when they find out that didn't happen, we're going to 120, maybe 150, maybe $200 per barrel, and you have no idea the economic devastation that's going to happen. And Israel's going to laugh all the way to the bank. Hey, suckers, we drove you into another now we're at tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions soon. War, all for our benefit.
We'll see. We'll see.
And we're going to take southern Lebanon, and the Leviathan gas field now is so valuable.
Okay, let's keep it real. The United States and Israel entered this war against Iran with its formidable military capabilities, let's keep it real, knowing that missile interceptors were already depleted. They're running low on them. They're not able to use any missile interceptors to help Gulf allies out, that's for sure. And so our Gulf allies saying we trust Donald Trump, enjoy that trusting relationship. Okay, I hope you enjoy it, especially the UAE, enjoy every bit of it. But I mean, Israel knows, okay, so this is what Trump says. It's an indefinite ceasefire. The Iranians should not accept that, knowing that the missile interceptors are low. I think Israel should pay the price for this war. They wanted the war. They wanted the war. You want the war? Great.
And
there's no ceasefire for you. The Israelis want the indefinite ceasefire. And then I'm sure there's gonna be attacks on Iran, and Iran's gonna be expected to still abide by the ceasefire while the US and Israel attack. No, don't play that game.
Yeah.
Iran should go for it. Go for it. You know that they're out of missile interceptors, so go for it. They've got their shelters. You look at Israel, 23 people have died, tragic, okay? But the reason why the death toll is so high in Iran and so low in Israel is because they're all living underground in Israel right now. So why don't they level Israel so Israel gets a little taste of what it's like to be a Gazan? What it's like to be someone living in South Lebanon.
No, Anna, they're superior to those people.
No, they're not.
Okay,
they're not though.
So, because our media tells us when we see dead, murdered Palestinian and Lebanese children, Muslims and Christians, they go, no big deal, bunch of terrorists. No, the real victim's Israel. I'm so sick of our media. What I was going to interject with is, the other reason why we're delaying is not because of the interceptors. You can't build those quickly enough. Our ground troops are still on the way. We're waiting for our ground troops to arrive so we could surprise the Iranians, right?
Ridiculous.
So look, and we're about to show you that they're not going to be surprised, and then they're going to listen, it looks like, to what Anna is suggesting, whether we like it or not. And but before that, I just want to say one other thing. Look, I just want us to leave. I don't give a damn what happens to Israel that started this war. And if you want me to cry over the aggressors, oh please, you should cry over the Germans who took, needed the Lebensraum. You should cry over the Serbs who were trying to slaughter all the Bosnians and the Kosovars. No, I'm not gonna cry over them. Don't start a war, don't start genocides. So I don't give a damn what happens to Israel. And if you caught feelings over that, that is definitely your fault and not mine. You should try caring about other human beings, which I haven't seen from the Israelis at all, okay? Never concerned about anybody else, but always me, and my stupid feelings.
100%.
Okay, now, so what I'm saying is we, America, have to get the hell out of there. There's no reason to endanger our ground troops, our ships, our money, our treasure for an out of control genocidal state that demands that we give them money and we give them our military. Why the F are they in a position to demand anything? And the real answer is the one mainstream media assiduously keeps hidden from you, because they have bribed all of our politicians. It's not at all complicated. They bribed 94% of Congress. They bribed Donald Trump with over $300 million in campaign contributions. The Israelis bribe all of our politicians so our government does not work for us, it works for Israel. That's why we're about to get our asses handed to us in the Gulf. Not because we're gonna lose militarily, but because we're gonna lose so many soldiers for no reason, and we're gonna lose so much money for no reason. But Israel's gonna get everything they want, and every dumbass, every liar in mainstream media tells you that's just a coincidence.
No, I don't.
Get the hell out of here, man.
I don't think people realize Israel loses too. Okay, aside from the bombing. No, I hope so too. They deserve it. But aside from the bombing, we are entering a global depression. Okay, the damage that's been done to oil fields, oil and gas infrastructure in the Gulf. Okay, 20% of oil and liquefied natural gas traveled through the Strait of Hormuz, which is effectively shut down now, thanks to Trump's ridiculous blockade on Iranian vessels. By the way, in the beginning of this war, you know what Trump did? He lifted sanctions against Iran so they could ship oil in order to lessen the economic shock of less oil supply on the market. And then he's like, I'm not getting my way. I'm not getting my way. So I'm gonna do something that's gonna do what? Hurt the global economy more by doing that blockade on Iranian vessels. Oh, congratulations. Guys, this isn't ending anytime soon, which means that the economy is gonna devolve more and more until we enter a global depression. And when your life is destroyed, remember who did it? Israel. Israel did.
Yes, every time you go to the gas pump and you pay more.
Yeah.
Remember, Israel took that out of your pocket because we all have to serve a country as small as Papua New Guinea. Well, how do you think they did that? Because, we all have moral compunctions that we have to give all of our money to Israel to murder all their neighbors. That's not a moral compunction. That is made up by the press and by our politicians to rob us blind on behalf of their favorite country in the world, this tiny little Israel that we all apparently have to bow down to. You should be furious at Israel. They did this. They 100% did this. And now I'm worried, I mean, no one would be this way. Trump's at 33%. I told you he's gonna go into the 20s. When this war continues, he's gonna go into the 20s. This thing, he is just absolutely pulverized his presidency and his legacy. There's only one reason you would do that, and Trump turns around all the time. When he senses he's in trouble, but here he's not turning around. Why? Because he thinks the only thing worse for his legacy is obviously what Israel has on him.
That's true.
And if you think Israel won't do blackmail, you're an idiot. You don't know anything at all about politics or world events. Israel's so moral. They're the one country who doesn't have a spy agency and who doesn't spy on us. We already know they stole all our secrets. How stupid are you if you think Israel isn't at a minimum trying to get blackmail on every leader in America? We all know that. We already know that Netanyahu had blackmail on Bill Clinton, but he say, Clinton didn't do what he wanted on Monica Lewinsky. And guess what happened? The Monica Lewinsky tapes came out. Funny how that works. All right, let's keep going.
There is no keep going, okay? We're at war. The war will continue. The Iranians believe that Trump is gonna do a surprise attack. Who knows? They put out a statement saying everyone must leave the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait immediately. Sailors aboard all ships in the Arabian Gulf must also prepare to evacuate their vessels. This is especially urgent for ships near the Strait of Hormuz, which will be destroyed first. Time is running out. Now, I get that by the time the additional troops make it to the Middle East, there will be about 60,000 American military personnel. That doesn't mean that they're all combat troops, okay? Some of them are special ops. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of them are personnel, not combat troops. You need 500,000 combat troops to go into Iran to carry out what Trump claims the United States and Israel wants. So I don't know what they're actually gonna end up doing. This is a disaster. It'll continue to be a disaster unless we finally have a leader in this country who's willing to take a look at Israel, understand that it is a cancer, not just in terms of our alliance, but in terms of a cancer on the globe, and decouple immediately. Hey, Canary Mission, make sure you include that in your next compilation video, okay, bitches?
No one cares about them. No one cares about anybody talking about anti-Semitism as Israel has lit the world on fire and goes, who cares about your economy? Who cares about your dead troops? No, you should only care about our feelings. Canary Mission, suck it. All of you who are lying about anti-Semitism to get us to do the dirty work of Israel, you're the worst people in the country. All right,
terrorists, yeah.
Look, the parliamentary speaker that we're supposed to be negotiating with, he said we have new cards to play in the battlefield and we can't wait to play it. And by the way, they've been threatening our ships in a bunch of ways. Now, what did I tell you from the beginning? Our ships, once the interceptor missiles are out, are sitting ducks. By the way, they told us that the USS Gerald Ford had a random fire in their laundry room. Maybe they did, and maybe they didn't. They told us that there was a brave rescue mission in the middle of Iran, and the pilot that was theoretically rescued is no one knows and no one states his name, and was apparently 110 miles from where we went. So what the hell was that mission? Literally everything the Trump administration is saying is a lie. And we have morons repeating it nonstop in mainstream media because they're not doing news. They're doing every propaganda thing they can. Get back into the war, get Israel, Israel, Israel. God, we're not the ones obsessed with Israel. Every son of a bitch in Washington serving Israel are the ones who are obsessed. This war is all them. This is gonna turn into an epic disaster, guys. I'm worried oil is going to double and we're gonna land ground troops. And the Iranians have said 1,000 times, we've laid traps for you.
Good.
No, not good, not for us. We're now going to walk into those traps on purpose because Israel has ordered us to. And our leaders have betrayed us. They're not Americans. They're traitors to this country. And I'm not just talking about Trump, the 7 snakes in the Senate that are Democrats who said, oh yeah, give Israel more 1,000-pound bombs and armed bulldozers to murder innocent Lebanese and innocent Palestinians. You know, they murdered more Palestinians today in Gaza. They murdered more Palestinians today in the West Bank. They murdered more people in Lebanon today. They won't stop murdering. And the 7 snakes said, no, we serve Israel. We don't serve America. And we're gonna send them more weapons to do more genocide. And give me your money, America. I'm sending it to Israel for war and genocide. That's what those son of a bitch Democrats did. Every son of a bitch Republican voted yes. They're the worst. The Republican Party should be named the Israeli Party. And Trump is at the head of that snake. And none of them serve us. Biden didn't serve us, Kamala, Trump, they all serve Israel, and we're all sick to death of it. And when this war goes disastrous, even more disastrous than today, this country is going to explode in rage. And don't come blaming us for it. Blame the people who lit that fire, and that's Benjamin Netanyahu and all the traitors in Washington who serve Netanyahu instead of us.
No, that day of rage needs to come. And for the Americans who are still playing cutesy games, maybe you're getting that $7,000 check every time you betray yourself, your own morals in order to spew pro-Israel propaganda. I hope you understand what you're doing, and I hope you suffer the consequences too. We gotta take a break, we'll be right back.
First comes strength, then comes peace.
All right, Spider-Man Dragon says, no, a majority of Israel, just like a majority of Germany, did what they did because of their hatred. The whole country should be punished. Look, I'm not in the punishment business, but
I am. I agree.
Yeah, but like if you think that the Israeli population is all innocent, like, oh golly gee, we all wanted peace and rainbows. No. Every interview you see a man on the streets like, murder more Palestinians. We haven't ripped our babies apart enough yet. God damn it, what is enough murder? When is enough genocide, Israel? When is enough genocide, Israel? You said never again. I guess you thought, oh yeah. That's for the suckers. That's for the suckers. Never again for us, but for you, again and again and again. If you're Israel's neighbor, they will murder you and they will try to take your land. And then they'll claim self-defense and anti-Semitism. And every liar in Washington and every liar in New York will say to them, oh yeah, you're so right, you're a special little ally. God damn it, I'm sick of being ruled by Israel. Mongoose Dragon, I'm convinced that Trump's advisors are lying to him about everything. Doesn't matter, then he's lying to them.
His chief of staff staff is an Israeli asset. She worked for Benjamin Netanyahu's re-election campaign. Every facet of our government has been taken over. When conservatives talk about the deep state, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about.
EME2 said, I totally agree with everything Anna is saying about Iran hitting Israel while the interceptors are low and taking advantage of the situation.
Yes.
Do you guys see what's going on here? All of you Israeli lovers, you think you got the whole world to love you? No, you got the whole world to hate you. Not because of your religion, but because of your monstrosity. Because of what you've done.
First comes strength, then comes peace.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna. This is going to be a hell of a show because I can't contain my rage. Meanwhile, at the end, we're going to do Operation Joy. All right, Mr. Jump for Frogs and Happy Warrior. At least there's some happiness out there. Thank you for gifting memberships on YouTube. Guys, we do this together. You don't know, but the pro-Israel forces are constantly attacking our business. So, like, if ever you're going to donate or become a member, this is the time. You could hit join below. You could go to tyt.com/join. You could also donate through tyt.com/join because the Israelis are vicious and people who support Israel in this country are vicious.
Yeah, let me. I don't care. I'm got fired from Real Clear Investigations as their investigative reporter covering California stories because one member of their board doesn't like my commentary on Israel. CNN doesn't ask me to come on anymore. Lots of opportunities gone because the mob, of course, came for me. They've tried to come for me here too, but we're too strong. And there's no way Cenk would ever fire me over my commentary on Israel, please. But financially, they've tried to cause harm. So if you like what you're saying and you want our voices to still be out there, if you can, please support us because I want to remain free. I don't care about those other jobs. I care about this.
Yeah, so the people who get people fired and try to ruin their careers are the Gestapo in America. They happen to be Israeli Gestapo. And no, I'm not gonna apologize for calling you Nazis when you act like Nazis. Let's move on.
All right, let's talk about some more bloodshed carried out by the Israelis. Let's get to this. The dystopian wasteland you're looking at isn't Gaza, although much like Gaza, the devastating destruction on the screen was caused by the Israelis. This is southern Lebanon, where the Israelis also slaughtered Indonesian peacekeepers. Israel now claims ownership of the land, which conveniently, Cenk, includes a Lebanese gas field. Your 2 cents.
Yeah, so as you're gonna see here, they're destroying about 70 villages, including Christian ones. But we're not allowed to complain. Christians and Muslims must accept their slaughter, and if you don't, you'll be called an anti-Semite by our press. So you're gonna see here the unbelievable atrocities that Israel's doing in Lebanon. And so don't listen to any junk news outlet that doesn't actually cover the news. We're gonna give you the real news from Lebanon and show you the true face of the monsters running Israel.
So reporting from the Cradle and the Jerusalem Post confirmed that Israel has drawn a so-called yellow line, much like they did in Gaza, separating a massive swath of southern Lebanon that they intend to annex and keep under their control. It'll now be part of Greater Israel, of course. Weird how the Greater Israel Project keeps coming up, but people deny that it even exists. Anyway, so according to the Israeli army, the 10-kilometer zone includes 55 towns and villages in southern Lebanon. However, you should remember that if an Israeli is speaking, they're lying, because Lebanese researcher Ahmad Baidoun revealed that the area covers approximately 70 Lebanese villages, not 55, and it's more than the 55 villages reported by the Israeli media, adding that the zone includes towns known to still be inhabited, the Christian villages of Ramish, Debel, Ain Ebel, and the Sunni town of Sheba. So for those of you who allowed yourselves to be brainwashed into thinking that the real problem in this globe is just it's the dangerous Muslims, right? Like the Israelis they're not worried about Christians. They treat Christians with respect. No, they'll slaughter the Christians and they'll smear them. Now, it's a little more difficult to smear the Christians here in the United States because the majority of religious people in the United States happen to be Christian. But they have taken full advantage of the fact that there's a Muslim minority here in the United States. So for decades, they've effectively smeared Muslims as dangerous extremists that are worthy of slaughter. But in this case, we're talking about Lebanon, super diverse country that has a sizable Christian population. They're getting slaughtered too. So what happens to these villages? Israel openly declared its intentions to destroy entire towns and villages. Defense Minister Israel Katz recently said in a statement that the residents of these towns would not be allowed to return.
That is because they are stealing their land and their homes, the homes they lived in. They're going in and saying, your home is now mine.
Yeah.
Israel owns it now. And if you come back here to your home where you lived, where your bedroom is, where your kid's bedroom is, where you watch TV together, we're gonna murder you. We're gonna take your home either way. The only question is, to what degree we murder and torture you? We finance all of this terrorism by Israel.
So to get a sense of what Israel does to these villages, and to civilians, let's take a look at this video. Let's keep my mic up and I'll explain it. So this video was shared by a journalist on the ground, a woman that I actually interviewed on the show, Courtney Bonneau. It features the Israeli destruction of the town of Aitarun, which the IDF is currently illegally occupying. They've bombed homes and other civilian infrastructure during the ceasefire and continue to do so. So there's supposed to be a ceasefire happening right now. And this is some of the destruction that just happened in southern Lebanon. And if you look at the map that the Israelis shared, right? The IDF actually posted this map on social media. It shows how much land they intend to steal, and it's pretty significant. The part that's highlighted in red is the part that they intend to steal. And I'm sure you can notice that the genocidal lunatics that were forced to fund even highlighted areas beyond the southern Lebanese coast and into the ocean. So that includes a Lebanese gas field.
Of course it does.
So let's talk about that gas field for a second, because I'm noticing that there is some deception in the way this is reported about, and even the Israeli press. So here's what's going on. Open source researcher who I referred to earlier, Ahmad Baidoun, noted that the IDF's new maritime boundary fully absorbs Lebanon's Kana gas field, whose exploration rights were explicitly guaranteed under the 2022 US-backed maritime border agreement to Lebanon. Okay, now the field was previously estimated to contain up to 100 billion cubic meters of gas, with projected value estimates ranging from 20 to 40 billion dollars.
Self-defense. Now they had to take the $40 billion for self-defense.
Now Israel, as this tiny, irrelevant country, really has nothing to offer when it comes to natural resources, right? Which is why they steal natural resources from other countries. They're likely gonna steal this gas field that we're talking about right now. Now in 2023, an international consortium consisting of Total Energies and other major firms began drilling the field, okay? Lebanese officials were then informed that no commercially viable gas was found in the field, right? And this is what the media seems to be harping on. Like, well, they did an exploration and they found there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Okay, except, as the Jerusalem Post reports, that was in an area of the gas field known as Block 9. As Baidoun says, the more interesting issue is Block 8, which is beyond the map, which Total Energies wants to explore, meaning they haven't explored the entire gas field, and it's very, very likely that it does actually contain natural resources that the Israelis desperately want. In fact, Dunya Basol, who's a PhD student at Bar Ilan University, says the following. This is an Israeli, by the way. Israel's new forward security zone in Lebanon isn't purely military. Look at the maps. It includes the Kana gas field. That's not incidental. Even wealthy states have to finance their wars, and gas fields help. If the occupation of this zone is meant to last, and it increasingly looks that way, kind of is an obvious way to fund it. So that's happening, that's going on. Netanyahu and his group of demons slammed Lapid's 2022 deal with Lebanon, by the way, granting them control over this gas field. But expecting Israelis to abide by their own agreements and promises is a fool's errand. Since the ceasefire earlier this month, for instance, ceasefire usually means two sides agreed to ceasefire. Israeli troops have remained deployed in the south, continuously rigging whole neighborhoods with explosives while filming the demolitions and publishing them online because they're very proud of what they're doing. Sadly, the Lebanese government consists of fools. I'm not talking about Hezbollah. Hezbollah is really the only line of defense the Lebanese people have. And I mean that with my whole chest. The Lebanese government seems to be full of Israeli puppets or individuals who serve as puppets for the Israelis. Now, what do I mean by that? Joe El-Khoury, who is the Lebanese Minister of Industry, made some interesting statements recently, Cenk. I want to read them to you. Here's what he had to say. This was from a few days ago, April 15th. There are two notions that we, meaning the Lebanese, need to accept from now on. The first is that Israel exists. Of course, that's the most important thing in the world.
Oh my God, Israel doesn't exist. Oh, yeah, it's gotta exist.
The second,
it already exists.
I know.
Shut the hell up about it.
The second is that we need to shift from a culture of war to a culture of peace. Enough, the Lebanese people cannot take it anymore. I'm sorry, which culture is the culture of war? Which culture is the culture of war? But let me continue with what else he said. What is the price? That Hezbollah will have to surrender its weapons to the government? We welcome such a price. Bitch, you guys don't know how to defend your own freaking country. What are you talking about? Finally, he says, the narrative that the Israelis aspire to establish the greater Israel, which will include a part of Lebanon, is a false narrative.
So this guy's being paid by the Israelis.
100%. Is a false narrative. It is a thing of the past. People who peddle this narrative are trying to justify keeping their weapons away from the control of state.
Hey, Joe, or whatever your actual name is, the Israelis just published a map saying they're gonna take portions of Lebanon and your gas field. So what happened now? No, guys, Israel's gonna get one thing that they want for sure, which is they wanted massive chaos in the Middle East. So another civil war in Lebanon, potentially civil war in Iran. I don't know that they're gonna get the civil war in Iran, but the civil war in Lebanon now is on the clock because the Lebanese government is saying, oh, please, Israel, give me more money. I'll sell out my own people. Just take our land, take our land. I don't know if it's because they're cowards. I mean, look at what Israel did.
That's southern
Lebanon. That's Lebanon. And Lebanon's leaders are going, good, yeah, give us more, Israel. Please burn and destroy and murder us more. Oh, Hezbollah's the bad guys for wanting to defend Lebanon. Go ahead, mainstream media in America, call Hezbollah terrorists. And then and then say that Israel has a right to defend themselves. Well, do the Lebanese have a right to defend themselves? Or is that only for the Übermensch, the Israelis? Are only the Übermensch allowed to defend themselves? Or are the Lebanese allowed to defend their own home, their own land, their own nation, and their own gas fields? And everyone in America will lie to you, the politicians and the media, and they'll say, no, they're terrorists for defending their own homes. For defending their own families, they'll call them terrorists, when Israel literally does 100 times worse and is the aggressor and is taking their land. They'll say, poor Israel, they're the victims. Now do you see what monstrous liars are in mainstream media? Everyone at the New York Times, everyone at the Washington Post, everyone at CNN, everyone at ABC, NBC, and the list goes on.
CBS.
All saying for decade after decade how the Israelis, as they take more and more land, murder and slaughter, that they were the victims. They did it in self-defense. What a bunch of gargantuan liars. They lied to you to get you to hate Muslims. Now it's inconvenient that Israel's also murdering Christians now. So that's why they never talk about the Christians. Did you find out about the priests we told you about yesterday? Did anybody on cable news cover it? In any of the organizations I talked about? They murdered a Christian priest in a double tap. They bombed a Christian home. The priest goes in to help along with the Red Cross. They wait for the priest and the Red Cross to show up, and they bomb them again and murder them on purpose.
Because they're terrorists.
Because they're the biggest terrorist in the world. But our media does a switcheroo and says, hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims. Soon they'll be saying, hate the Christians. Oh no, that's inconvenient because the Christians are your piggy bank, right? You rob the Christians, hate the Muslims. That's how it works. And the getaway driver is every single anchor on cable news.
Israeli rape when we return.
We didn't blow up diplomacy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right, Bradshaw Crew 1 and Metal Turtle 571. Thank you guys for gifting so many. 4 from Brad and Bradshaw and 6 from Metal Turtle. You guys are amazing. That's on Twitch. Over 9,000 writes in on TYT.com. The IDF will get around to all the Christians in America right after they finish training our law enforcement. Rudy Tootie says, isn't that yellow line in Lebanon similar to what the Russians did in eastern Ukraine? Yes, yes it is. That's why everyone in media in America said, the Russians are evil, look at them taking Ukrainian land. And they say, oh, Israel's lovely and angels. And when they take Lebanese land and Palestinian land, they're the victims. I can't stand what liars they are. And what bothers me at my core is that they are all pretending to know news. Every day they put on a mask and they go, we're gonna pretend we're saying things that are true and we're gonna lie to them. They rob their money and give it to my friends in Israel. God damn it, they're the worst.
We gotta get the operatives out of our government.
And out of our media. There's a whole bunch of Gestapo that work inside the media. They're like, anybody say anything about Israel? Fired, fired, anti-Semite, fire them, right? Effing Gestapo. And let me explain how much cowards the people in media are. Because they don't all love Israel. But they're like, oh, I don't want to lose my job. The Gestapo's around the corner. They'll fire me if I say something that's true about Israel. Okay, all right, the Muslims are dirty, savage terrorists. Murdering Muslims is totally okay. Israel's the victim. Did I keep my job, Daddy? Daddy Israel, did I keep my job? That's who works in our media. They're pathetic, young Turks. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna. Don't shoot on the goalkeeper. Maybe did that title for Israel because they'll shoot anyone. Anyway, a member on TYT.com says, I'm so here for Cenk and Anna's rage today. It's well warranted. F Israel and everyone who supports them. Well, you came to the right place, Anna.
Sure did. All right. Apparently, there was an anti-Semitic act at a New York high school, an affluent New York high school, that was so outrageous that a member of Congress actually did something about it. Congressman George Latimer, who AIPAC helped throw out Jamal Bowman, is calling for investigations. He's very upset. Now, before we get to the details, Cenk, your 2 cents.
So George Latimer is a mutant dog who works for Israel. You're going to be stunned at the amount of money the Israeli lobby gave him. And the other thing you're gonna be stunned at is his lack of any morality, not 1%. Because Anna's gonna show you what he's outraged about and what he's not outraged about. Go ahead, Anna.
So of the anti-Semitic act, he doesn't share details about it at all. He just posts a lengthy statement on X saying that he's deeply disturbed by the reports of anti-Semitic incidents. There was one incident. Anti-Semitic incidents at Scarsdale High School.
Scarsdale High School, okay, yeah, go ahead, tell us Pretty Little Lies.
These reports demand a thorough investigation and every individual responsible must be held fully accountable. At a time when the Jewish community is facing heightened threats and hostility, students deserve to feel safe in their schools. Maybe you guys should stop equating Israel with the entire Jewish population. Maybe that would be a really, really good idea, but they intentionally conflate the two over and over again, so critics of Israel get smeared as anti-Semites. There's a price to pay for that, meaning that innocent Jewish people end up getting lumped in with genocidal maniacs. And I think that's kind of unfair to them, isn't it?
But anyway, very unfair to them.
So what happened? The disturbing situation, according to the New York Post, occurred when flyers posted by the posh public high school's Israel Culture Club to promote an upcoming Israel Fest were ripped off the walls and dumped into boys' bathroom urinals, with images of the vandalism quickly making the rounds online. So here's the
paper
image.
got hurt, and I didn't know it was that bad. Look at the paper. Oh, the horrors of what happened to that paper.
Terrible, terrible.
Oh my God.
Now, I've done extensive research on this to ensure that no one's been harmed physically by this. No one has been harmed physically. The flyers, though, that's a different story, and maybe we should have a moment of silence for it.
Yes, thoughts and prayers for the papers.
Yes.
I didn't know it was as serious as flyers because there's 72,000 dead people in Palestine, and I thought probably equivalent.
Right.
But no, much more important, it was a piece of paper that had the name Israel on it. Oh my God.
The boys were peeing on it. Okay.
They're slaughtering the Lebanese as we speak. They just destroyed 3 Christian towns. They're killing everyone in their path.
I know, but they're not Israelis or Jews.
Oh, I didn't know they're not the Ubermensch.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, the Ubermensch were gravely insulted. Go ahead. Let's go back to a national emergency that a US congressperson is animated about.
Wants a thorough investigation, full accountability. Okay. Now, American lawmakers aren't just melting down over high school students desecrating flyers. They're also busy funding and defending the depravity of the Israeli Defense Forces. And there's never any statement about that. There's never any calls for investigations when it comes to the very real war crimes that are carried out by the foreign military that we are forced to bankroll as American citizens. Recently, Haaretz put out a pretty horrifying report that relied on the testimony of IDF soldiers whose crimes against humanity have been so severe that they're having trouble living with themselves. Now, I am already at a point where my heart has grown so cold for the Israelis that I feel no sympathy for them at all. But I will at least acknowledge that there are sociopathic IDF soldiers who never feel any shame at all. Hopefully none of them are dual citizens and come back here to the United States. They should be barred entry, they're dangerous individuals. But some IDF soldiers apparently still have a bit of a conscience and feel a little bit bad about raping and murdering innocent people and civilians in Gaza. And Haaretz highlights their statements. Now, they go by aliases in this, but let's start off with one IDF reservist who goes by the alias Maya. She says that during the war, I was exposed to the killing of innocent people, shocking things that if I had read about them in Haaretz, I would have cried out. But in reserve duty, they went by me as if they were nothing. She describes what happened at an army outpost in southern Gaza. I was sitting there in the command room. Suddenly, the soldiers on watch noticed 5 Palestinians crossing the line they weren't allowed to cross, heading for northern Gaza. Everyone went crazy. There was a big mess, meaning they opened fire and just started slaughtering these people, okay? The battalion commander gave an order to overwhelm them with fire, even though they hadn't been confirmed as armed or anything like that. A tank started shooting at them with its machine gun, hundreds of bullets. She says that 4 out of the 5 ended up getting killed. It's actually shocking that one of them survived, but the story gets worse if you can believe it. A few hours later, a D9 Caterpillar armored bulldozer buried them in the sand. When I asked why, they said that it was so the dogs wouldn't eat them and spread disease. The one who survived was put in a cage at the outpost, and they said, we had to wait for a Shin Bet man to interrogate him. Well, no one showed up that day, but the next day someone did. Suddenly, a few soldiers called me, so I went with them to the cage. The Palestinian man sat there cuffed and blindfolded and seemed to be freezing from the cold. One of the soldiers took out his penis and started urinating on him. He told him, this is for Beri, you a-hole. This is for Nova. Nobody could stop laughing. I might have laughed too. A day later, someone from Shin Bet met with him, interrogated him for 10 minutes, and determined that it was just some guy, ordinary civilian, who was trying to go back home to northern Gaza. Another IDF soldier who goes by Yehuda, let me just get through this, told Haaretz that one night a Palestinian managed to get near their outpost. We got to the Palestinian and he immediately held up his hands. It was obvious he was unarmed. The officer came near him, waited a few seconds, and just fired without asking questions, without the suspect doing anything. And then there's stories of torture. Eitan, another alias, but an IDF soldier, talks about the interrogation of one suspected Hamas militant. He says that at one point the interrogator took off the prisoner's pants and underwear. He took a couple of cable ties and attached one to his penis and one to his balls. He asked him a question, and when he didn't answer, he pulled the cable ties tighter. They repeated it over and over. There was crazy yelling. He never stopped yelling, as if his soul was leaving his body. And let's not forget this. Many of us have seen the video of IDF soldiers in that prison gang raping a Palestinian hostage. Well, it turns out IDF chief reinstates reservists accused of raping, not abusing, raping Palestinian detainee despite ongoing probe. This is what Israeli society is. This is what we are funding. This is what our government defends. I haven't heard a word from Latimer about the depravity that is exposed about the Israelis day in and day out. But to be fair to Latimer, someone tore down a flyer and put it in the urinal. And that was enough for him to spend minutes of his day to post about it.
Okay, I have two more horrors I'm going to share with you. But first, on the ones that Anna mentioned, the one where there was just the officer goes up to the Palestinian and just murders him. Later, they had a discussion about it, they said at headquarters, and they decided it was murder. And then no one did anything about it, and he just went back to work.
That's right.
Because murder is perfectly normal of civilians in the IDF, because they're all terrorists. So now, the second one, another one that was mentioned in the Haaretz story, is they go and there's a melee again. They don't know who they're shooting at. They shoot at a bunch of people, and then they go and look at them, and it turns out they were all civilians, a bunch of kids mainly, and a grandfather, right? So the person that's talking to Haaretz is now traumatized over it. So an officer comes and they're wondering, oh my God, what's the officer gonna do? We accidentally, they think, killed all these civilians, these kids and this grandfather. And the officer comes by and spits on him, on the dead civilians. And so all of the commanders are setting the example. You murder, you abuse, you torture, you rape, you spit, you urinate on them. And so that's why it's such a perfect connection to the Latimer story. Because he sounds like he wants a national investigation over someone urinating on a piece of paper. But when they're urinating on innocent civilians, on human beings, he's like, that's no big deal. And by the way, he's not alone. Almost no one in Congress thinks that's a big deal. That's the same Congress that just sent them 1,000-pound bombs and armed bulldozers. So our Congress with our money is saying, attaboy, way to torture them. Way to be Nazis. This is what Nazis do. If you're not convinced yet, I have two more. But before I tell you that, why would guys like George Latimer, who just like care so deeply emotionally about a piece of paper with the word Israel on it, but not care at all about the torture and rape that Israel is doing?
Let's put up graphic 4, you'll find out.
Yeah, you'll find out right here. Oh, how much is the Israeli lobby giving Latimer? $22 million. $673,131.
But did he have to do that with his mouth, considering his eyes look like that?
Yeah, no, and so why did they give him so much money? Because he was running against Jamal Bowman, and Jamal Bowman had the temerity to question our funding of Israel. And if anyone questions Israel 1%, the Gestapo shows up. That's the pro-Israel donors. And they say, we're going to ruin your career. We're going to end your career. They do it to everyone in media. They do it to everyone in politics because they're fascists. And so what did they do? They said, okay, we've got to give $22 million to a mutant. And why do they pick a mutant, by the way? Because they need the least moral people in the country to fund to steal our money to fund a genocide. So Latimer's like, oh, I'll do it. and I'll pretend like you guys being offended about paper is like the most important thing. If you want, we'll do congressional investigation to stomp out peace protesters in college campuses. We'll destroy the people who want peace on behalf of beloved Israel. It's like if you give them $22 million, and everyone in our media is like, oh, $22 million don't affect politicians. He's not bought by Israel. It's offensive to say he's bought by Israel. Good, I want to offend you. Last two things.
He's Israel's whore. What do we? Come on.
I mean, this is absurd.
Be offended. Be offended. I don't care.
Okay, graphic 14. This is another detainee, Palestinian testimony. I wish for death. Sexual violence in Israel's prisons is an organized state policy. Palestinian testimonies reveal how sexual violence, including rape using objects and dogs, is approved by the highest levels of Israeli leadership. Now, before I read you the specifics of these stories, remember how much people on television was like, we think there might have been sexual assault on October 7th because like that person's pants were in that direction and there was blood there. And we think, so that's it. All the rapists, right?
Hold on.
Now, are they saying the same thing about proved things, Israelis and Palestinians with testimony saying the things I'm about to read you about vicious rape about Israel? No, shh. Never report the news about Israel because they're objective. Go ahead, Anna.
No, I was gonna say, look, is it possible that there were instances of rape on October 7th? I'm not gonna deny that. However, the point that the Israelis keep trying to make is that rape is used, like systemic rape, it's part of the sexual torture that Hamas has agreed to implement as part of their warfare against the Israelis. There is no evidence indicating that there's widespread rape, but there is evidence indicating there's widespread rape and sexual abuse carried out by the IDF.
There is absolutely no question that our media does not care about the truth or the news at all. Because if they care, or rape, they're giant liars. If they cared about rape, they would report on the systemic rape happening inside Israeli prisons. But they absolutely positively will never, ever, ever report on that because they're not doing news, they're doing propaganda. And for a different government, which is unbelievable. So here are some of, if I read you all of it, guys, you couldn't sleep at night. So Catherine Hurst from Middle East Eye reports, one former detainee, a 42-year-old woman from North Gaza who was held in the notorious Sid Tayman detention center, said she was bound naked to a metal table and repeatedly raped by 2 masked soldiers over the course of 2 days. She recalled that she was left shackled, naked, and bleeding throughout the night before the soldiers returned the next day to continue raping her.
You gotta read the next one.
That's not a maybe. That's not a maybe. And this isn't one of dozens of examples. And yet our media absolutely positively will not report on it. Why? Isn't that super weird? When it comes to Muslims, they're like terrorists, rapists, right? With some evidence that it might have happened. And I'm with Anna. If you say it happened, I got no reason to protect Hamas. I got no reason to be in favor of any of violence. We're totally against war. We're totally against any innocent civilians being hurt. Okay, but if you care so much, then why don't you care about this? Because the reality is people like Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, and to be fair to them, literally everyone on cable news, they don't think Muslim lives are that important. They don't think a Palestinian woman being raped or a Palestinian man being raped is important at all. Because they don't view them as fully human. They believe their own propaganda that Muslims are terrorists who have every vicious thing coming to them. They're the most racist, bigoted people in the whole country. All right, last one. Amir, a 35-year-old Palestinian man, also held at Sid Tayman, recounted how soldiers forced him to strip naked before their dogs urinated on him and raped him. He described how the dog penetrated my anus in a trained manner while I was being beaten. And he said it continued for several minutes. I felt profoundly humiliated and violated, of course. And that story is not alone. I've now read half a dozen stories of the Israelis using dogs to rape human beings. These are the sick terrorists that they are stealing our money to fund.
But you know, there was a flyer in a urinal in New York.
In Scarsdale. Oh, I'm so broken up about it.
I hope the kids are all right. We'll be right back.
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Hey, Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang. Of course I have good service.
All right, let's try it. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait. Should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh, yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is going to save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no. You know what I'm going to do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The 2 buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was going to be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that. Here you go, phone, yeah.
What the Cenk, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mobile.
It was really just one take. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoes. It's in my shoes. Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the Young Turks, which is my favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
All the people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
Obrador.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. I want to thank all the people who joined and gifted memberships in advance. You guys are beautiful human beings. And I love you for caring about the actual news and about your fellow man, which apparently no one in media does. So thank you for, in your own way, financing us. Miss Frilly Knickers, Ronnie Boy 08, and Wayne Rose 4398. Thank you guys so much for joining. Fat Satter, thank you for giving 5 memberships. Karen Hill, same. Anthony McClendon, same. Diane Glassner sent in 10 memberships on YouTube. We love you guys and we appreciate you guys. And I've never been greeted better in the streets than I am today. And I've never been more hated in Washington than I am today.
Then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, so they say, oh, you're representing the American people? Ew, he doesn't even work for Israel. Call him an anti-Semite. So anyway.
Look at how Americans are treated, by the way, regardless of where they land on the political spectrum, left, right, doesn't matter. Look at how America first Americans are treated in this country by the elite.
They have nothing but contempt, whether you're on the right or the left.
They loathe Tucker Carlson. Why?
Or worst of all, you're an independent. The people in power loathe you with every fiber of their being. And their job is to destroy you so that the insiders win. The people in media are not doing news. They're the number one weapon of the establishment. They're the Praetorian Guard of the powerful. Their job is to lie to you in mass to get you to bow your head to the powerful.
Yeah.
So, all right, Anna, go ahead.
Okay, well, let's talk about the insider trading that's obviously happening. We all see it, and the idea that a devastating, disastrous war that the president got manipulated into, fighting on behalf of Israel is now a way of profiting is just sick. So let's get to the details.
The first one I found, and one of the most prominent ones, is on the 23rd of March. Trump had spent the weekend preceding that threatening Iran's power plants, much like he is now. But then suddenly, on the Monday morning, before the stock market opened in the US, he said that the United States had had very good and productive conversations with Tehran. You go back, though, and look at the trading volume data, and you see a massive spike in the number of oil futures contracts exchanged between about 14 to 16 minutes before the post. That's hundreds of millions of dollars, and those traders will have made a huge amount of money through what's known as short selling.
Turns out the most consequential moments of Trump's second term, from Liberation Day tariffs to, of course, the Iran war, all share one thing in common: evidence, clear signs of insider trading. And I'm going to show you some of the brazen examples in just a moment. But before I do, Cenk, I was led to believe that insider trading was a crime.
No, that's only for the masses and apparently for Martha Stewart. But
I know, man, they did her dirty. They did her real dirty.
You know why? In case people don't know, here, just pause on this 2 cents, but because Martha Stewart has no institutional power. So like, I remember Mike Wallace.
Bitch got money though.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's not institutional money.
Yeah.
So I remember when Mike Wallace did this super tough interview, and I was like, this is like the toughest interview I've ever seen him do. It was for Ricky Williams, a football player, and who at that point I believe had retired already. Since that guy has no power, he can kick the crap out of him, right? That's the media version. Now in the law, like if you're attached to Goldman Sachs, you're gold. You could break any law, you could steal, you could do insider trade. No, Trump insiders, no problem. Major banks, no problem. The only people in the 2008 crash, where they crashed the entire global economy, cost us 13 million jobs of real people. The only people who went to jail was like a 27-year-old at Goldman who had not listened to his superiors, I believe. And then one other guy who tried to steal from Goldman. And those are the only two that I believe went to prison.
You're right,
okay?
I remember that.
And so institutional power is what our media and our government protects, but they like to pretend they're doing law enforcement, so every once in a while, or real journalism, so every once in a while, they'll pick off someone who's famous but has no institutional power, like a random football player or a random person on TV who does trinkets around the house.
I mean,
that's
she does
how
more
this
than
game
trinkets.
is played.
Let's not be doubly unfair to Martha Stewart. She does more than trinkets around the house.
No, God bless. Okay.
She's a homemaker, a real homemaker.
But I want to now do my actual 1 cent here, and then back to you, Anna, for the facts. So I want to start 3 years in advance the movement of no pardons for the Trump family or Trump insiders.
Good luck.
Because I know what's going to happen. They're gonna go, oh, we're gonna look forward and not backward. Oh, you know why? Because if there's a normal corporate Democrat that comes into place, let alone a Republican, they'll be like, well, well, I mean, we also do insider trading. So let's just give them pardons and pretend it's because we're being civil. No, now a lot of the right wing, I think, will join us, and every independent will join us. No, if they did this insider trading, we got to make sure that they go to jail for a long, long time. Go ahead, Ann.
All right, let's start with the regular stock market, then we'll move over to these prediction markets. All right, so take a look at a few examples of suspected insider trading schemes. So this is a graph put together by the BBC, and it shows the oil futures market on the morning of March 9th. That day, Trump told a CBS News reporter that the Iran war was complete, pretty much. So he keeps saying all these like flowery, wonderful things, giving you the impression that like, oh, this war is almost over. Is it because he's telling the truth? Obviously not. But he knows that the markets respond well to him pretending as though there's they're engaged in peace negotiation. He's just manipulating the markets. That's all he's doing. About an hour beforehand, as you can see, let's put that graph back up, guys. As you can see in the chart, the oil futures market saw a huge volume of bets. Specifically, traders were betting that the price of oil would fall. And oil prices did fall after CBS released their interview with Trump. Okay, but that's not the only example. According to BBC, anyone who made that suspiciously timed trade could have reaped millions of dollars, did reap millions of dollars. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Next graph. So as you can see, the same phenomenon did take place on March 23rd. That day, Trump went from threatening Iran's power plants to announcing productive negotiations with Iran. After Trump's announcement on Truth Social, the price of oil fell. And when you look at the oil futures market, less than an hour before Trump's post, you can see that trading volume spiked again, okay? Same as before, those traders were betting that the price of oil would drop, and it's very likely that they're close to Trump and they knew he was gonna make that announcement. I mean, that's the speculation. We can confirm it by actually, investigating. But is that gonna be investigated? No, it's not gonna be investigated.
No, guys, so what's super relevant here is what is the normal level of trading on an average hour and an average day? Because if the trades are huge, but there's normally huge trades that happen in this market, then okay, it's perfectly normal. Don't get bent out of shape over it, right? All the numbers are large in the markets, right? No, this is extremely unusual volume of trading. So by the way, that is the number one thing that investigators look for, unusual volume of trading. The number two thing they look for is timing. Was it right before some big announcement? This, if there were any investigators left in our government that cared about white collar crime, would be ringing every bell in the house. It'd be whoop, whoop, what is a 5-alarm fire, okay? But do you know what Trump did? He fired almost everyone looking into white collar fraud as soon as he got in. At the SEC, at the IRS, at almost every organization, the very first people he fired, Doge and all that nonsense, was a cover story for firing anyone who would look into white collar crime.
I can't believe a con man would do something like that.
Oh, I know, and we pointed it out at the time. So a legendary con man fires everyone who would catch con men inside the government. Gee, I wonder if it's a coincidence.
But guys, understand how devastating and destructive this is, okay? Oh yeah, sure, there's a bunch of nasty little profit-seeking scamsters making money off insider trading, okay. But the insider trading is based on statements that Trump is making publicly that are full-blown lies meant to manipulate the markets. So we as the American people can't even rely on the President of the United States to give us straight facts as we're in the middle of a war.
Yeah, Anna, you're so right, because the insider trading is a huge crime. But I lost track of what you just said there. The second crime is, my God, you're lying to us about people who are gonna die and not die based on the war because some insider of yours is gonna make a lot of money?
I'm learning more about the war from Lego videos than my own president. Do you guys understand how weird and insane that is?
Yeah, and look, guys, again, so the reason why they can't lie about this as well as they used to, before mainstream media would cover up all the crimes of the powerful, right? But in this case, there's people, and they're not partisan. I mean, they could be left, right, it doesn't matter, that track this stuff for a living. And by the way, oftentimes will trade off of, like, for example, the Pelosi tracker, et cetera. They're not tracking just Democrats or just Republicans, they're tracking all the politicians.
Right.
And what they're coming away with, the conclusion is, oh my God, that's definitely insider. Someone knew right before Trump's announcement that this was gonna get done. So now you can go to all those people who saw it with their own eyes and tell them, no, the most important command of the government is that you ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears. But we're done ignoring it. So mainstream media can't cover up these crimes anymore. So
I want to go to the prediction markets, which I don't even dabble in, but it's a big thing and it's become a huge problem. So if you don't know what prediction markets are, it's these websites like Kalshi or Polymarket is another one of them. And you can make bets on, like, I guess anything and everything. Like, is Cenk gonna wear a blue shirt today? Yes or no? Like, I guess that kind of stuff. But people are taking bets on war-related nonsense, right? So the BBC and The Guardian have revealed that Polymarket users are making some very fishy trades. Here's one example. Let's take a look.
Called Burdensome Mix set up an account on Polymarket in December last year, and between the 30th of December and the 2nd of January, this account placed $32,000 on Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president, being ousted. The next day, he was seized by US Special Forces, and the account made nearly $500,000. Then it changed its name and hasn't placed a bet since.
I'm just thinking of my life and my choices. But back to you, Cenk.
I was wondering what you were doing. So they're double dipping. So they're betting on the markets and they're betting in these markets. Look, I love gambling, and so I thought, well, it makes sense that if you can gamble on sports, you can gamble in real life events. Except I did think in the beginning, wait, if you could bet on real life events, some people will already know the answer, or they can actually determine the answer. Won't they bet on it? And then I thought, well, I guess they'll do regulations. Now that was silly.
No, that was super silly. That was super silly. Of course,
they're not gonna do any regulations. So here we are, and they're just robbing us blind.
So they're making all sorts of high volume, or there have been a high volume of suspicious bets on the war when it comes to these prediction markets as well. For instance, on the night of February 27th, the day before the US and Israel would carry out strikes on Iran, an unusual influx of about 150 accounts on Polymarket placed bets that the US would strike Iran the next day.
And so these are the same people, Anna, that pretended to be in favor of the Stock Act and banning insider trading in Congress. And now the administration is doing it on a nuclear level. I mean, steroids doesn't begin to describe it. And so I think on one of the Iran trades, that somebody made $58 million.
Yeah.
And there are rumors that it's like the call is coming from inside the house. Look, it's obviously coming from inside the White House. The question is who, and there's rumors about which Trump family member is the one actually placing the trades. But no amount of Fox News propaganda is gonna protect them when our economy crashes and America sees red over all of the crimes of the Trump family and insiders.
Yeah, the French didn't respond well when they were told to just eat cake. That's all I'm saying.
I'm for peace, and we have to.
Peace has worked out real well for us.
Yeah, we have to do a political takeover here, and we have to do it in 2028. And there is no other option. The only other option is what we're worried about, which is what Anna's talking about. I don't want it to come to that. Nobody wants to come to that. I want to do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't come to that. So what these idiots don't realize, the super rich and the super powerful, is they keep jabbing and jabbing and poking everyone.
As mass layoffs are happening, by the way. Okay, let me just say, the environment is being set for violence. Okay, so if you don't want the violence, you have to understand how these dynamics are playing out. When you have, I mean, we already had an insane amount of inequality, okay? But now on top of that, there isn't just inequality, there's complete lack of opportunity thanks to the AI, AI wiping out these jobs and these mass layoffs that are happening.
So we are not the ones who want the violence, we're the ones trying to prevent the violence, and we're telling you that there is an iceberg straight ahead. And everybody on the ship is rearranging the chairs on the deck and going, what would they know about an iceberg? We're unsinkable. I'm telling you, you're sinkable. So if they don't turn around by 2028, God knows what's gonna happen in this country. So, all right, let's all hope for the best.
I'm gonna go ahead and bet on God knows what's gonna happen to this country. Anyway, we gotta take a break. We'll be right back.
All right, let's go to a super chat. Ricky Rage DeRozio writes in, hey Cenk and Anna, I watched Hamza Sada on YouTube interviewing IDF soldiers.
Me too.
Admitting with absolute pride how they love killing Palestinian civilians, including children. It's so appalling that it extremely sickens me. So one of the accounts that we didn't even get to is a person who's a sniper. And they said, I can still see all the heads exploding when I go to sleep at night.
Good.
And he wets himself every night because of all the innocent people he murdered, and he could see their faces in his dreams. So that's at least a person who has a little bit of a conscience, which separates him from most IDF soldiers. Okay, Anissa Book says, thank you, Cenk and Anna, for speaking for humanity. Arab men are not terrorists, Arab women and children are not expendable. That's right, we believe that, of course, that's not the case. Everyone else in media does think that's the case, and they're disgusting bigots. Mintman87 says, we got you all, TYT strong. Thank you, brother, and for the generosity. And Merilovin, thank you for the contribution. Grim W, thank you for the contribution. You guys are great. Duma Karam says, you are so wrong about Lebanon. Israel's disgusting, but Hezbollah has ruined our country. They have guns. They do whatever they want, kill all the opposition politicians and journalists, so they're like a dictatorship with an ideology. Most of us in Lebanon hate them, and we also find Israel disgusting. No. I don't, look, thank you for writing in, and that's really important. I'm not a fan of Hezbollah, and I wouldn't want to live under Hezbollah. But they are the only ones defending Lebanon, so against the invasion of the Israelis. So that's all we're saying, and that is an empirical fact. I'm not wishing Hezbollah on you, but I'm also not wishing Israel on you. Thank you to everybody. It's Cenk and Anna, obviously on Young Turks. Lady AF for sending in 5 memberships on YouTube. Constant Kavira, same thing. And D Mitchell, 25.95, same thing. Look, I read the comments of Super Chat and our members during the breaks. So if you're a member on tyt.com/join, you can get that. If you're a member on YouTube, you can connect your account for free and get it, and that's tyt.com/connect. I'm telling you that because I read a super chat from Uma Karam, and I want you to make sure that you saw it. And it was about Hezbollah. Nobody's in favor of Hezbollah, and we know Hezbollah does other bad things, but they are defending Lebanon. And as you said in your post, yes, Israel's destroying Lebanon. So nobody's saying hand over Lebanon to Hezbollah. We're saying defend Lebanon, and we wish their actual government did as well. And
Hezbollah is a political party in Lebanon that enjoys widespread support in southern Lebanon. Just because they actually resist Israeli violence and land annexation doesn't mean that the rest of the world gets to decide they're terrorists and bad guys. How about the terrorists and bad guys who keep trying to steal their land?
Right, but that brother's talking about people who live in Lebanon and who don't want to live under Hezbollah's rule. And he's a person who's definitely written in before, who's super mad at what the Israelis are doing. So I get it, it's complicated, there's no question about it. But the one thing that isn't complicated, guys, as he himself acknowledged, of course, is that Israel's invading Lebanon and destroying everything in their path. And let's be honest, it's also clear that Lebanese government is not protecting.
No, they're not. They're not protecting.
Actively not protecting.
So I genuinely, look, please write in again, because this is a question that I've been really, really curious about, and I trust you to answer it honestly. So when you don't have a government that's protecting your country from the invaders, and the only resistance comes from Hezbollah, but you don't like Hezbollah, and I understand that, right? I don't agree with Hezbollah's religious ideology, that's for sure, and their interpretation of their religion. However, they're the only ones resisting Israeli aggression. So what do you do in that situation? Do you fight for the government of Lebanon to disarm the only group that's fighting back? I don't know, like what would you prefer in this scenario? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a real question if you want to write back on Super Chat or wherever. Last things, April Ryan is going to be on Indisputable tomorrow, so I want to make sure that you guys are checking that out. She's the longest serving Black White House correspondent. She's DC Bureau Chief for Black Press USA. She's going to be on Indisputable, that's right here at tyt.com. You can watch it live. It starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and so make sure you're checking her out when she joins the program tomorrow. And that Indisputable, of course, is also on YouTube. You can check it out there, and it's on all of our 24-hour channels. Anna, what's next?
All right, story about, I don't know, there's like a bunch of drama online about this, but Tucker Carlson said sorry about something, and people are upset. So not only has Tucker Carlson come out with his clearest break from President Trump yet, he's actually expressing a great deal of remorse for helping to get Trump elected in the first place. Take a listen.
You and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure. Yes. It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like, in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now. Yes. So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people, and it was not intentional. That's all I'll say.
So this episode featured Tucker Carlson, obviously, and the second individual that you see is his brother, Buckley Carlson, who had previously written speeches for President Donald Trump, and much like his brother Tucker, has soured on Trump, especially lately, given his commitment to Israel to the detriment of the American people. But Cenk, your 2 cents.
So I don't know what people want past that. I mean, that's as good an apology as I've ever seen, and he didn't need to give one. So people make mistakes, people vote for people they don't like. I've been forced to vote for a whole bunch of people I didn't like, right? And so, but nevertheless, he does this heartfelt apology. So on behalf of anyone who cares about war and genocide, I accept, okay? But we're gonna tell you more about the apology, and then we're gonna tell you the people who didn't accept it because they're high and mighty and they don't care about genocide or war, but they do care about their precious effing brands.
Okay, well, so Tucker sat down with his brother, as I mentioned earlier. He is a GOP operative by the name of Buckley Carlson. Now, the two did lay bare their concerns regarding Trump's war with Iran, suggesting that Trump's true allegiances lie with the neocons and wealthy donors. So Tucker believes that the war is not only a massive policy error, but part of a larger indictment of Trump's character. So the Hill reports that Carlson wondered out loud if it was always the plan to go to war with Iran, saying, you don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that. But there are tons of people of low character who like outperform their character. So look, I think what he's saying here, and I've noticed this with a lot of former Trump supporters who have, changed their minds on him, much like Tucker has. They were willing to kind of look past Trump's baboon behavior, the fact that he's just gross in so many immoral ways. And when I say immoral, right, like I find it immoral to cheat on your pregnant wife with an adult porn star. You know what I mean? Like I find it immoral to, get your mistress pregnant when you're married to someone else. Like that kind of stuff is immoral and usually would disqualify someone from becoming president. But with Tucker Carlson and others who ended up supporting Trump, I think they were willing to overlook that stuff because he had this anti-war messaging, for instance. He had all this, in the context of American politics, unprecedented policy stances that I think they believed he was gonna carry out. But he's a con man and he's easy to bribe, easy to blackmail, and I think that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other factors too, which is that they are right wingers and Trump's a right winger.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
And well, actually, Trump's not a right winger. Trump was pretending to be a right winger, right? And so Trump actually has no morals or no ideology or philosophy at all. It's just whatever helps Trump. And that's what the Tucker Carlsons of the world are realizing belatedly. But that's not a ha-ha moment, that's a thank you for noticing, brother. I know it's late, I know that he already won twice, I know all that. But we're trying to stop a war and we're trying to stop Israel's endless genocides. So we appreciate you becoming an ally at any moment. That's how a normal, decent human being would handle it. I'm gonna tell you how others handled it in a minute. But the other thing is, you have to remember, guys, like would you, if you're a Democrat, would you vote for Ted Cruz? You'd have to put a gun to my head.
No, I wouldn't,
right?
There's no way.
So for them, that's the equivalent of voting for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. I know you don't think that, and you think that they were lovely people, but now we found out Joe Biden wasn't that lovely.
I mean, look.
Like he was willing to burn the whole country down to stay in power, even though him and his family and his advisors all knew that he had dementia or some sort of mental ailment, that he couldn't finish sentences. You still think he's a good guy? Has anybody on the Democratic side apologized for backing a guy who had dementia just so that we could keep power?
Look, Cenk, that was bad enough. That was bad enough. But even before that, the genocide in Gaza made Biden persona non grata for me. I'm sorry if that offends you, if you're a Democrat and you think you have to support the Democrats no matter what because the Republicans are so, sorry, genocide's a big deal for me. When Kamala Harris refused to differentiate herself from Biden on the campaign trail, she was persona non grata for me as well.
And said that she wouldn't change any of his policies on Israel. She wouldn't allow anyone to criticize Israel at the DNC. So if you say to me, no, the Democratic brand is more important than a genocide, you're not a good person.
No, the Democratic brand becomes pro-genocide under that condition. Okay, and I just can't support that. So I didn't vote in the presidential election last time. Now, with that in mind, Tucker has been incredibly critical of Trump in the past, especially regarding foreign policy. By the way, one of the other things that Trump supporters thought Trump was serious about was like reindustrializing America, like bringing jobs back to America, moving away from globalization. He did no such thing. Now, the Iran war has been escalating and escalating the conflict between Trump and Tucker, and might have even been a factor in Tucker's son, also named Buckley, exiting his role as JD Vance's deputy press secretary, which I think is good. I think it's good that he exited. He apparently just started a private consulting firm. Now, Tucker's disagreement over the war is not only rooted in it being a political loser, but also in him having a sincere moral objection. At one point during the show, he referred to Operation Epic Fury as absolutely disgusting and evil. And this sentiment is reminiscent of an interview that Candace Owens actually gave to George Janko. This was a few years ago. And this moment with Candace actually meant a lot to me because it gave me a peek into what she's capable of. And it's actually a good thing. So take a look.
Same, and so first I wanna say, just like to all Muslims growing up during that time in America, I am sorry on behalf of America for the way that you were treated. That it is so unacceptable. When I go back and I re-examine that propaganda, that brainwashing that took place in the classroom to make me scared of something, I didn't even know what a Muslim was. I remember going to the airport and someone was a Hindu and I was scared of it. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna make him take this off of his head, blah, blah. I thought that was a Muslim, right? There was no education about anything. And the reason for that, he who controls the textbooks controls the entire country, in my view, right? It was because everything that we did responding to 9/11 should be assessed as whether or not they were crimes against humanity. We bombed 1 million Iraqi civilians. We killed 1 million Iraqi civilians. What were we doing in Iraq? The Saudis were on the plane. They just said there's weapons of mass destruction, and then they never found them. But in the process, they killed 1 million Iraqi civilians, right? And it made us think it's okay to just keep bombing Muslims. That was the purpose to me of that educational propaganda and brainwashing, is that we feel nothing for Muslims if they die. And that's so wrong. As a Christian, it bothers me. As a Christian, it bothers me that I allowed the school system to inform my perspectives, to not care about human beings.
I really appreciate that she said that, because it takes humility. It takes a willingness to admit you're wrong, you were wrong, and that you've changed your mind. And I know that I'm supposed to believe, and look, Candace Owens has political views that I do disagree with entirely. But that's separate from judging a person on whether they're a good person or a bad person, evil person, not an evil person. I'm supposed to believe she's an evil person when she reflects on things that she said about Muslim people in the past, realizes how wrong she was, and is willing to go on a podcast and openly admit, I was wrong, I fell for propaganda and brainwashing, and I feel bad about it.
So then people come to me and say, let alone everyone else, and say you have to denounce her.
I will denounce her when she says something that's worthy of denouncing.
So, okay, I vehemently disagree with a bunch of things Candace says to this day, okay? And I don't like talk of religion with the Talmudic Jews. I don't like any of that, and I'm against it, okay? But then they say, no, you have to denounce her entirely as a human being. Why? Did you ever give a speech like that defending Muslims? Did Jake Tapper ever give a speech like that defending Muslims?
Has Jake Tapper ever admitted he's wrong about anything?
Has any cable news host, has anyone in media, has anyone in politics? So a lot of these people pretended that they cared about marginalized communities. But when someone is now stepping up to defend maybe the most marginalized community, they're like, no, you have to throw her under the bus and bash her. No deal, no deal, okay? I'll disagree where I think it makes sense. I just told you where I disagree with her, and vehemently. And I'll agree on the parts that make sense, like you were propagandized to hate Muslims, and that was done on purpose. You know, she talks about textbooks. You know who bought our kids' textbooks, the company that makes them? Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. And that was after he stole our nuclear secrets. But yet he was never arrested for that, and they let him buy the companies that make our textbooks.
Yeah.
Well, I know, that's just a coincidence. Go ahead.
I wanna go to one other video. And guys, the reason why I think this is important is because it shows you that people can wake up, they can evolve, they can change. We as human beings, all of us, are very complex, and we all fall prey to disinformation and propaganda. With that in mind, don't just throw people away, engage in dialogue, because I do think that some people can change their minds. And recently I had a conversation with Megyn Kelly. Now, let me just say, Megyn Kelly's views on what ICE did to Alex Preddy, that stuff, I cannot even begin to tell you how much I disagree with her. It makes me angry, I covered it on the show. However, I went on her show, she wanted to talk about the war in Iran. She wanted to talk about the Epstein files. She wanted to talk about Israel. Get a load of this.
You know, I can speak from the perspective of somebody who is just ardently pro-Israel without questioning. I used to look at people like you as just sort of like, that's crazy. They just, they can't stand Israel. I don't know why. I knew enough to know, like, keep questioning, because I would have like Glenn on my show all the time, and he's always been this way. But I didn't listen. I wasn't open-minded, and I am now in a way that I think a lot of Republicans are starting to be and haven't been.
Dialogue is the only way to change things. Throwing people away just makes people dig their heels in beliefs that might be ill-informed, might be based on propaganda. I just think humans are deserving of redemption. I think redemption is definitely a possibility. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they do and say, but give people a shot, and don't be so cynical all the time. And by the way, you don't win anything unless you build coalitions.
Yeah, so I want to give some people credit before I get to the discredit. First, credit to Anna for handling that the right way. Because if you go on Megyn Kelly's show and you yell at her, you were wrong about Israel, it's all your fault. Do you think she's gonna say at the end, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong and you were right? No, if you have a normal, human, decent, civilized conversation and you go, look, here are the facts, etc., then maybe people could come to your side. And by the way, other people who said no, they'll never come to your side, you should never talk to them, well, you were flat out wrong, and there's no disputing that anymore. You can dispute it all you like, but we all have eyes and ears, right? You just saw 3 major figures in the right wing, maybe the 3 biggest figures in the right wing, all say in different ways that they were wrong, and they now have changed their position on Israel, the war, and other things that are monumentally important. But I'm gonna give bigger credit to Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens on those issues, right? Because it's easy for us to make our point of view, and we could, make it in a way that is appealing or not appealing, and that's good. But what's much more important is for the person who's changing their mind to be big enough and moral enough to change their mind and say so. And then on top of that, add an apology like Tucker Carlson did. I think that speaks incredibly well of them, even if I vehemently disagree on other issues, okay? So I don't want anybody mistaking this for what some others on the left are doing. There's not 1% of ha-ha here, okay? There's 100% of thank you for having an open mind. And they deserve a lot of credit for that. Now, I'm gonna get to the people who deserve discredit. Now, I don't know this brother. I just happened to stumble upon his tweet. I'm just using it symbolically. It's Adam Mockler. He apparently has a very large show on YouTube, no disrespect, and I have no beef with him, right? And so, but he wrote, Tucker Carlson is not our friend. He should not be welcomed into civilized society.
What does that even mean?
I don't know why. Adam, are you the arbiter? Are you at the gates of civilized society and you decide who goes in and out? Okay, as if he did nothing wrong, but he didn't say he didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he apologized for what he did wrong. What else do you want? And he continues, we can happily watch the MAGA movement self-destruct without mistaking Tucker as a good person, on and on and on. Okay, I get it. You're more moral, you're more high and mighty, and you're morally superior to all of us. He's trying to end a war where a lot of Lebanese, Palestinians, and Iranians are gonna get killed. Can we concentrate on that, or is your brand more important than that?
The brand.
Okay,
definitely
now
the brand.
I go to a much, because I don't know anything about Adam. He might be a perfectly lovely guy otherwise, okay? And it's just one tweet. Now I go to Sunny Hostin, who I know is not a good person. So she said on The View, whatever, I don't believe him. He's not gonna get a bear hug from me. That's a reference to her debate with Joy Behar and Marjorie Taylor Greene on the same issue. She says, I don't think you know the world's on fire and you can't just say, oopsies. Yeah, whatever, did you ever say oopsies for supporting a man whose brain was leaking out of his ear? Who was such a narcissist that he's willing to hand the election to Trump? He was willing to hand the election to Trump because of his ego. And what did you do, Sonny? You backed him all the way. Did you ever do a profuse apology? No, because you didn't mind losing as long as you kissed the ass of the powerful, right? So now this guy's trying to help us end a war and you go, I don't want his help. I am morally superior. No, you're not, Sonny. You're morally inferior. Yeah, I said it. So you don't care at all about the Palestinians, the Lebanese. You don't care about our troops dying. You don't care about all the money we're wasting. You don't care about any of that. All you care about is, I'm gonna look down on everyone. And if you're trying to help us with the war, we don't want your help. Snap, oh my God, my brand's so important. Hey everybody, I'm the big warrior against Republicans, love me. Yeah, no, thank you. And I'll tell you this, and I will say this on behalf, and yes, here I do have the enough experience to say this, on behalf of the great majority of Muslims in this country. Whenever I go to a Muslim American event, they thank Tucker Carlson, they thank Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Tom Massey, because they don't have the luxury of going, oh, you know what? I don't care about the genocide. My brand's more important than the genocide. We don't have that luxury. I've talked to guys who lost 300 family members in Gaza. Are they appreciative of Tucker Carlson's help in trying to end the genocide and war? Yes, yes they are. And you don't speak for us. And don't pretend that you speak for us. In fact, what you're doing is you're rubbing salt in our wounds by trying to distance our allies from us who are trying to stop this war and trying to stop Israel's war crimes.
That's right.
You're too busy kissing Israeli ass on television. What did you do to oppose the war, Sunny Hostin? What did you do to oppose the genocide? Did you go and make huge speeches against Israel's war crimes on The View? Because I don't remember it. I don't remember. I remember Tucker Carlson saying it 20 times, 40 times, 100 times. I don't remember you saying it once, and not anywhere near as passionately. And did you switch tens of millions of Republicans' minds on this issue? Did you switch anyone's mind on this issue? No, you had a lot of snappy snaps about how everybody should follow you because you're the queen of some sort of uber left or whatever the hell you think you are. And by the way, we're the ones who have been right about war and fighting against genocide here on the left the entire time. Now, as our right-wing brothers and sisters who are Americans join our fight, you do not get to chase them away. So if you ever listen to some person claiming to be on the left, claiming to be a liberal, who's willing to hurt the cause of stopping this war, understand they're not really on the left. They're all about themselves and they're deeply, deeply selfish. Go ahead and cry about it.
All right, we're gonna take our final break. We'll be right back with some more news, don't miss it.
All right, guys, I'm never gonna be able to read all these. I'll save some for Operation Joy. Mohud Baki wrote in a super chat, the news can be depressing, so to cheer me up, I like to watch viral TYT clips like Epic Mountain Man, Epic Creeper Man, Phil Davidson's speech, etc., who, by the way, needs to be hired to campaign for Dems to win in 2026 and 2028. Thank you for reminding us of those fun clips and good times. Uma Karam wrote back in, you guys, I truly want you guys to understand who Hezbollah are. They're holding all of Lebanon hostage. Evidence, like you say, Anna, Hezbollah are truly evil. We had no war with Israel from 1956 to 76. So much for me to explain to you. I hear you, and I know you're genuine, and I appreciate the pain you're going through.
You didn't have war with Israel for 10 years?
No, 20 years. He's saying 56 to 76. Brother, Israel was always going to come for you.
Israel invaded in the 60s. Didn't Israel invade Lebanon in the 60s?
It's in 67 they attacked all their neighbors, but I don't remember if Lebanon
was one of the countries they invaded.
Okay, but he's not arguing for Lebanon. So, I mean, he's not arguing for Israel, right? He's just has his own experience in Lebanon, and I appreciate him. Matt Ear in YouTube member section says, special place in hell for Netanyahu. Every decent person, of course, would agree with that. Asimov's prophet at TYT.com says, I definitely accept Tucker's apology. At this point in time, that's all you can ask for. Pessimistic Progressive said, my father-in-law is a retired general from the Lebanese military. He could give you the honest truth about how the Lebanese feel about Hezbollah. I should get a statement from him. That would be really helpful.
That would be great.
And I've talked to Lebanese people who can't stand Hezbollah, who are all tired of the wars, etc. That isn't the point. Hezbollah is not invading Lebanon. Israel is invading Lebanon. Okay, you guys get your house in order. Of course, that's your business, not our business. Our business is to protect you from Israel. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. David Martinez wrote in, Cenk Rage, I'm here for it. It's fuel for my evening workouts.
Cenk, you've got to stop working out.
Okay, but not you, David. Okay, you keep going. I appreciate you guys. Anna.
All right, we're gonna enter some conspiracy territory. So I just wanna give you that warning because this isn't adding up. And when I say this, I mean the fact that someone tried to assassinate President Donald Trump. He never talks about it. There doesn't seem to be any investigating going on. Like, what is happening? Let's get to the details.
That day, Thomas Crooks came within a quarter-inch of destroying this country. And yet, a year and a half later, we still know almost nothing about him or why he did it. That's because, for some reason, the FBI, even the current FBI, doesn't want us to know.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged, maybe it was faked, maybe it was some kind of message to him, although I don't understand that.
Now, it's been months since Tucker Carlson did a deep dive into President Donald Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, and the FBI's lack of interest in, investigating it, including the motive, Now, more conservatives are beginning to question what exactly happened in Butler, Pennsylvania during the 2024 presidential election. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the more vocal individuals who's starting to ask questions. We'll get to her in a second, but first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
First of all, there is no such thing as conspiracy theories. That's my new conclusion.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so what that is a term used by the media to make sure you don't challenge the government and their official story. Because the media is not in the business of news, they're in the business of propaganda for the powerful. So just drop the conspiracy nonsense. It's a theory, okay? And is this particular theory an interesting one? Absolutely. And so I'm a person who thought it was perfectly real, and I thought it was heroic what Trump did. I'm now definitely rethinking that based on some of the evidence we're going to show you.
Well, okay, first let me just say there is no like smoking gun, so don't like wait for that. I don't have a theory. Okay, my take on this is very strange. Okay, and I don't trust our government because our government has already lied about the suspect behind it, right? So Thomas Crooks was shot and killed at the scene, so there isn't gonna be a trial or anything. But there was a big lie that was uncovered by Tucker Carlson in the special that he did on this incident, on this case. So we'll get to that in just a minute, but first, while we still have trouble getting Trump to like shut up about the 2020 election, which he lost to Joe Biden, it is very strange that we never hear Trump ever mention Butler, Pennsylvania, ever. Or by the way, the second would-be assassin who was arrested near Mar-a-Lago. How come he never talks about any of this stuff? How come he doesn't demand investigation? Like he wants investigations as a freaking James Comey, but he doesn't want to know more about motives behind his would-be assassins?
No, look, guys. So it's really hard for us from the outside to determine what actually happened. But is it perfectly legitimate to ask questions? Of course, that's if you're in media, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to ask questions of the government, challenge the government to find out what really happened. You're not supposed to blindly accept things they say, especially when they don't make any sense.
Trump even told the BBC last year that he doesn't like dwelling on it. You dwell on everything. He dwells on crap from like multiple decades ago.
Are you kidding me? I mean, the 2020, he thinks he lost an election, he can't let it go. Imagine if he was actually shot at. And that's why I remember when he was giving the speech at the RNC and he said, this is the only time I'll ever talk about it. I remember saying, that's not true at all. Like he's never gonna be able to stop talking about this. But I was wrong. He doesn't talk about it anymore. Okay, so if you don't think that's strange, no, now you're being weird. That's definitely strange. So that's point one.
So over the weekend, one of Trump's strongest supporters, who apparently no longer is a strong supporter, her name is Trisha Hope. She was actually a January 6th activist and a national delegate for Trump. She posted a lengthy post on X explaining her thought process on this whole situation because she finds it very strange. I'm gonna read exactly what she wrote verbatim. I was a longtime Trump supporter. I became a national delegate to make certain Trump was seated as the nominee. On the night Trump spoke at the RNC, he had the ear patch on. Remember, he had like a giant like female hygiene product like attached to his ear. As Trump began to speak, he started with this. So many people have asked me what happened. Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. So in regard to his statement there, she says, Trisha Hope says, my first thought was how odd for him to begin this way. In my opinion, Trump made that statement to stop any further conversation about what happened. He gave us his official story, would only do it once, and that was the end of it. Now we all know no one loves Trump more than Trump, so this to me felt completely out of character.
Yeah, no question.
Okay.
So there's more videos, keep going.
Following the inauguration, I found it odd that Trump wasn't going aggressively after those who allowed this to happen. He seemed to behave like it was no big deal. His Secret Service detail failed him miserably, failed him massively, allowed him to be shot, and they allowed that perfectly timed photo op to take place. Since the attempt on his life, Trump has shown no interest in investigating what really happened. He never mentions it. It's as if it never happened, except when he tells us he took a bullet for us. So she gets a little, she starts like sharing her own theories. She thinks the man who actually got killed that day, Corey Compitore, was basically used as part of the plot. Someone had to die. Otherwise it would have been much easier to claim it was a hoax. They killed Corey likely because he was truly a real life hero, one people would rally behind and defend passionately, as they should. Then to top it off, they used Corey to their benefit at the convention. To this day, his wife is begging for answers she has repeatedly been denied. Sadly, there have no more use for her. They have no more use for her. So she no longer matters. So that's her theory. Obviously, we don't have any evidence to back any of that up, right? But
there's one thing in there that makes sense.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know what happened with the gentleman who was shot and killed, and now we're getting into deeper waters, et cetera. And again, we're not saying we know, okay? So to me, the legitimate question in there is, why was no one punished at the Secret Service for an enormous breach of security? That there was a guy on a roof with a perfect shot at Trump in the crowd, and that's the one building they didn't look at, and that's the one building that had no video cameras.
Yeah.
And not only was the people in charge of security that day not fired, the lead guy there was promoted to the head of the Secret Service.
Insane.
No, that's evidence number 2.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna skip ahead. I want to go to some of these videos. Let's start with F2 because there are others who have weighed in on this. Now, Tim Dillon, of course, is a comedian, but he does a lot of honest commentary in his comedy. With that in mind, let's take a look.
Maybe the assassination was like not something that we don't know the full story. So maybe it was staged, maybe it was faked, maybe it was some kind of message to him, although I don't understand that because it almost, I don't get it. I don't get how close you would come. The top of the ear. But I think maybe it was staged. And I think now is the time to just come out and say, some people are going to be upset by this, but we staged the assassination attempt in Butler to show people how important it is and how important it was to vote for me.
Okay, so that's what Tim Dillon had to say on his own show earlier this month. And then you have the statements that Joe Kent made when he was on Tucker Carlson's podcast. If you don't remember, let's go to F3.
We still don't know what happened in Butler. We don't know what happened with Charlie Kirk. And by no means am I saying the Israelis did this or any of that, but I'm saying there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And there is enough data to at least say that there's a good chance that President Trump feels like he is under threat. We're not allowed to ask, basically, was there any linkage between what took place with Asif Merchant, who was recruited by the Iranians to come to America to recruit proxies to kill President Trump. The FBI put a confidential human source at him. All this is public now. This is all out there in the open. And he's arrested, and then 2 days later, a sniper takes a shot at President Trump.
And I'm gonna go to one more video, Cenk, just so we do our due diligence here. I wanna go to F6 because Tucker's special on this issue needs to be looked at because we were lied to about how Thomas Crooks had no online trail. He didn't post anywhere, he wasn't active on any social media. Nothing could be further from the truth. So if you watch it, he's gonna show you the receipts, but I wanna give you a little taste, F6.
In late September, we received a tip from a source. He told us he'd gained access to some of Thomas Crooks's accounts. He'd found these accounts by utilizing tools commonly used by private investigators. The key lead was Thomas Crooks's phone number. That was published in documents obtained by America First Legal. That phone number led our source to Thomas Crooks's primary email account, tmcrooks7@gmail.com. That in turn, he linked with more than a dozen other accounts. It turns out that Thomas Crooks was hardly an online ghost. He was active, and yet federal investigators lied and told us there was no trace of him online. Some of Crooks's accounts, like his Snapchat, appear to have been fully deactivated and completely taken out of use. Some of them may have been unused or cleared by federal officials during the investigation. We don't know, because the FBI wouldn't tell us. There is ample evidence to support the authenticity of these posts. Our source figured it out. So did we. But when we reached out directly to the FBI to ask why the Bureau hadn't shared any details from the account with the public, the FBI responded by questioning whether we could verify the authenticity of the account. We were confused by this, considering the authenticity is self-evident. And of course, the FBI would have known that since the day of the shooting.
Super suspicious, Cenk.
So point number 3 is Joe Kent, who was the National Counterterrorism Director, asked for permission to investigate leads they had on foreign connections to the shooting. Now, in that clip that you saw with Tucker Carlson, and I explored that more with Joe Kent in my interview that I did right here on the Young Turks, you could watch that. And what he said was that there was a guy who was arrested for trying to assassinate Trump in some wild plot that was connected to Iran. Now, wait a minute. If you have evidence connecting it to any foreign government, let alone Iran, why wouldn't you let the National Counterterrorism Director and the entire organization investigate that? That is super strange. So that is evidence number 3. Evidence number 4 is what Tucker just mentioned, which is, why is the FBI lying about Thomas Crooks's background?
Yeah.
Well, if he did it and he did it alone, why wouldn't they, crucify him publicly? Like, oh, here's what he did, and et cetera, and how awful. But yet they've said nothing about him. Not only that, they've lied about him. That is also enormously strange. Okay, now the last one. Number 5 is the photographers. Someone shepherding the photographers to just the right location. Now, normally when I see something like that, I go, really? Okay, I mean, are you sure? And there's an element of that here with the flag, which I'll tell you about. But we're gonna show you F7, the next video, because to me, this was also, I mean, this is number 5, guys, of incredibly strange things that happened. So let's watch. Okay, so this is the shooting. Now you see that guy on that just crossed your screen on the lower level. He crosses after the shooting. He's not panicking and running away. He was very calm earlier in the video. This is a long video, and he went to go get something. Now oh, look at that. He went to go get photographers. There he is again. You see, crouching down, and he's shepherding the photographers. And now you're about to see a second person that'll also come in to shepherd the photographers for just the right shot. So as soon as what happened was like the shooting happened, he was just the calmest man. And there he is, look. And here comes another woman now. Bring the photographers here, we need the exact picture. And it looks incredibly choreographed. Okay, but how did they know to choreograph it? In the middle of a shooting.
I'd be out of there,
Is your first reaction, oh, let me go get the photographers and let me bring them to just the right location where they're gonna be able to take a shot of the flag as well, and Trump holding up his fist. And I'm not at all worried about my life. And remember, guys, come here. No, not there, right here, just like we planned it. What is that? Now, some people have a theory about how the flag was lowered. I don't know if the flag was lowered, okay? I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but that's not the point. The point is, those guys that shepherded the photographers to just the right location seemed like they had a plan, right? So you can say, hey, I dismissed this one or I dismissed that. You dismiss all 5 of those incredibly strange pieces of evidence, and you've been brainwashed to believe the government always tells the truth, and you should just shut down your brain the minute government says an official position. You see what I'm saying?
I do, and all of this is strange. Let's also acknowledge how insane it would be to stage a shooting like that, assuming that, oh, you're just gonna graze the candidate's ear and nothing more. I mean,
so
we don't know. I
have no idea what happened.
And our FBI director might be an alcoholic.
Okay, so
might be.
Look,
yeah.
From day one, I said, you crazy, Trump's gonna let somebody take a shot at him and barely miss? There's no chance that happened, right? So that is very, very unlikely. So how do you explain it? I don't know. By the way, if you guys don't know, in wrestling, what people do is, in the old days, they'd always be bleeding from the head, and you're like, Jesus, did they really get hit? They would roll under the mat, okay? Like they'd get hit with a chair, they'd roll under the ring, and they would cut their forehead with a razor, believe it or not. Dusty Rhodes used to do this all the time. And because you're sweating, even though it's a tiny cut, it would bleed all over their faces, right? Trump goes under the podium, comes out with the bloody ear. Okay, so I don't know, I genuinely don't know. What I do know is the official story has a lot of problems. So what in the world is the government doing? Especially because it's not like they took a shot at Biden. They theoretically took a shot at Trump. Yeah. You would think that they would be highly, highly, highly motivated to find out exactly what happened. Super last thing is, sorry to anyone I ever called a conspiracy theorist. Whether you're on the right and you had pizza, turns out pizza did mean kids. Okay, World Trade Center 7, the owner of the building said they imploded it on tape. On the left now, for those of you who had the conspiracy theory about Butler and this Trump shooting, sorry. Apparently you were right to question. And random ones, aliens. Oh, conspiracy theorists. Now Obama, Trump, random congressmen all saying, yeah, of course there's aliens. So none of them were conspiracy theories. They were just theories. All right, guys, Operation Joy is next. We'll see you there in a sec. All right, back on TYT, Jen and Anna with you guys. So first off, just a couple quick comments left over from the show, and then people have started writing in for Operation Joy. If you're unfamiliar with Operation Joy, we try to make the world a little bit better by making each other a tiny bit happier and spreading joy in the world. I was wearing my Team Joy t-shirt on Sunday, really well received. People love that shirt. So real quick, Bloated Ego said, well, it's been a little over 150 years since the first Civil War. I guess it's about time for another. But remember, guys, this would be trippy. This is not right versus left. This would be the people versus the establishment. And so I don't want any piece of it, but the establishment won't let it go. They're going to continue to oppress us to the bitter end. So I don't know what happens from that. Care41 another says, last night Rachel Maddow did cover Jared Kushner's corrupt deals with the Saudis and war-affiliated insider trading. I was surprised she covered those stories. No, that's not surprising. Rachel will cover anti-Trump stuff in a second. Notice though, she focused on it being with the Saudis. Come back to me when Rachel Maddow ever criticizes Israel. Okay, or calls it a, I don't know, maybe she did. So because I'm not religiously tracking it. If she did, please come back and let me know, because I don't want to, get anything wrong. Has she called it a genocide? Has she been like adamant to fight back against the genocide and against Israel's war crimes? Or is daddy not letting her do that? And that sweet, what is it, $25 million, $125 million?
She doesn't even have the money.
I don't know what kind of, like some monster contract that she got. We're doing it 1 day a week, but it does come with strings. Don't criticize Israel. Left wing loves Israel, loves this. They love Pelosi, they love Biden. And you're to say the leadership is great, even if they're, again, their brain is falling out of their ear. But intrepid news person, Rachel Maddow. Anyways, Sortilum wrote in on Twitch, thank you for showing up every day the way you do. You're an inspiration. I commend your integrity, conviction, resilience, and more. The fire inside you is what the world needs. From a stranger across the world, you got this. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I think we're doing the bare minimum. That's why I'm so angry at others for not even doing the bare minimum. Michael Brown Art says the Israeli soldier breaking a Jesus statue, and the stories are insane. The rape stories, and openly admitting to killing babies, but we're supposed to think that they're the good guys. Yeah, that's, in fact, if you don't, people in media will try to destroy you. All right, last one. Are 0083 in Super Chat. I have to wonder, besides the money, what did Israel promise all of these senators and congressmen? We're on the edge of burning down, and these bastards are laughing as they do it. Well, they all get millions of dollars, literally. All the 7 snakes got over $1 million from the Israeli lobby. Half of them love Israel and would sell you out to Israel in a second gratis, okay? And so there's Israel blackmailing some people? Of course they are. And you're an idiot if you think they're not. Oh, they're too good to do it. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. They rule Israel with fairy dust and unicorns. Spirit of Pakistani Jirga Force, last one. Watching Conrucus and his echo chamber on Piers Morgan is a masterclass in irony. They scream about definitions while hiding behind selective logic.
Conricus is a terrorist.
Yeah, they use jihadist as a slur, yet ignore that it means the noble struggle to defend one's home and soul against the brutal Zion Nazi state-sponsored IDF. While they label Palestinians terrorists, they ignore the blood on their own hands. Babies, children, civilians were martyred on Islam religion. They are in a higher heaven and actually chosen by God Almighty. Next time, Anna and Cenk, ask these Israeli channels, CNN, Fox News, BBC, how many Hamas and Hezbollah target hospitals, schools, and religious sites in Tel Aviv and other parts of the state of Israel? Close to zero, no argument there. Is Israel targeting more religious centers and schools and hospitals than Hamas and Hezbollah? Indisputably, and not close, about 100 times more. In fact, I don't know that Hamas or Hezbollah has targeted a single synagogue, but I do know Israel has destroyed endless mosques and churches and hospitals. Okay, we got to go to Operation Joy, because if we keep talking about Israel and the wars, we're not ever going to get to joy. All right, so let's switch to that. We'll start with a quick one. Situational Lefty says, what's bringing me joy is the new Seattle Mariners Sunday home matinee uniforms. They kick butt. Love it. Me and my dad were talking about this over the weekend too. Because my dad, he had a great life. And so most people can't say that. And so I loved that he appreciates it, right? So I asked him, I said, look, Dad, you kind of lived the dream, right? You were born in poverty with no electricity in your house. You work your ass off, you're doing these incredible, creative, ingenious, hardworking, all these things. And then you provide a living for all of us, carry us on your shoulders, and you live, in my opinion, a great life. And he's like, yeah, I'm satisfied. And I said, so what's the key to you being satisfied? He said, well, I didn't expect much. So I'm amazed by every single thing I've ever had. And so, I've told you this before, my dad didn't have a birthday until he got married because he didn't know what a birthday was. There was no birthday cake or presents or even a celebration of the fact that you were born. They were too poor for that. And I said, what toys did you have? He said, we made a ball out of all the plastic that we saved from different things, and we'd wrap it up and we'd make the ball larger and larger and larger. And he says, so when you grow up like that, everything seems amazing. And so I've been grateful from day one. What's the key there? The same thing you're doing with the Seattle uniforms, low bar, okay? You're not owed anything. So if you get something great or something that's good that happened to you, that's awesome. That's awesome, okay? The more you appreciate it, the happier you are. So I love your attitude. Now, a longer one, Jeremy, I'm reading these blind. Operation Joy, hi all. I'm not able to catch the show today. I'll watch it later. But I wanted to pop in and say hi and share an Operation Joy story. This week is one of the busiest of my library life. With a large festival, our great decisions discussion program. Thank you, Anna, for being our speaker this week. And a group of librarians come for a training. I feel like I'm not able to stop, but it's so exciting to connect with people. This week is National Library Week, and it's been so affirming to see people come to us and tell us what we've meant to them. We were also voted in top 3 projects for a community bond issue. This means that should the bond pass, we are one of the priorities to receive funding to expand so we can continue to serve the best of our ability. I'm so happy I get to do this. Also, it's my birthday today. 44 will be a good year. Thanks, everyone. Happy birthday, Jeremy. That's a beautiful story, and I love how excited you are about libraries. It's just like, it's so refreshing to hear. No,
relax.
No, I'm serious. It's like
it's so refreshing to hear that people like library.
Totally. I'm not even joking at all, and I'm not exaggerating from my point of view. Number one, I love libraries, and I mean,
when was the last time you were in a library?
2 weeks ago.
No, get out of here.
What now?
For your kids.
Maybe in fact, was it a week ago?
For yourself or your kids?
We were on a college tour and we went into the libraries.
No, libraries are great. I'm not hating on libraries.
Okay, no. I've told a couple of these stories before, but I'll do it real quick because she's questioning my library
just
love.
the whole like, oh, it's so refreshing.
No, I'll tell you.
Right.
Okay, so number one, it's gonna start out goofy, which is characteristic of me. So when we were growing up, we were nerds, and there was no internet. Okay, well, we were back then, we still are, but there was no internet. So if you were gonna do any kind of research, you were gonna look up a book or you're gonna look up an old article, you had to go to the library, get the microfiche, go through the Dewey Decimal System, etc. So a lot of us nerds went to the library, right? And that was kind of, in a sense, our home base, our fortress. And so because you're not gonna run out into a lot of the cool kids at the library. You see what I'm saying?
I do see.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of bullying at the library. Now me, I don't get bullied anyway. I mean, I look forward to that, right? And I'm not trying to paint this picture of us like with the nerds. No. We also went there to try to pick up girls at a library, but that did work once, okay? And we went there because they had really good air conditioning. And sometimes we sneak our subs and our Snapples in and we'd go to the private rooms and eat there. And so it was a big part of my childhood. And anytime I see a cute library, like I used to work for my dad in Eatontown, New Jersey, they had the cutest little library. I'd sneak in there and read a little bit and just relax, right? For me, it's like almost like a safe haven. And so that's why I love it when people care enough about the community that goes to libraries and the people who care about reading and learning, that they love libraries. So that's why I say it. So how dare you questioning my bona fides on libraries?
No, I'm not actually questioning that. It was just like, that is so refreshing.
Okay, it sounded fake, but it isn't.
It sounded fake, yeah, but okay.
So did you speak to them this week? He mentioned.
I'm gonna do a presentation on human rights, well, international law and the future of human rights. Spoiler alert, looks bleak.
Okay, well that's awesome though that you're doing a presentation for them. Okay, I love it. All right, Galfer71 on Twitch writes in, okay, my Operation Joy was last night when we did TYT Member Monday with Cenk over in TYT Discord. The members loved it and can't wait till next Monday for the next one. Oh, that's nice of you to say, Galfer. So yeah, that last night went really well. Very happy about it. We're gonna do it going forward, Member Mondays. If you're a member, you get to call in, but everybody gets to watch the first half hour, which is the revolution. Okay, so I'm handing this over to Anna and I'm gonna give you guys ones from tyt.com/joy. You should check that out throughout the week and give your own contribution. And as we go along, as obviously we tell you these stories and hopefully some things that could help you with your life and give you a little bit more joy. And at the end, Kat, Boomer Dragon Cat, who is a huge part of the show and she's a member that I read often. She's a big part of Old School, etc. Has a really nice note. And Kat, I saw that you still are not forgiving Tucker Carlson. It's okay, I love you, okay? Inside this house, we all respect different points of view and disagreements. Even if you disagree with me on Tucker or war or even genocide, etc. There's a lot of people disagree within families. It's no big deal. Anyway, I'm just giving you a heads up for Kat had a really nice comment. But let's start with that you all did. The one true coffee dragon says, my son asked me how I became an American. Just like you, buddy, with little to no effort on my part, he said. He asked me again how he could become an American so he could be Spider-Man, because he doesn't live in America. I told him he was an American in his heart, just like he's Japanese. I told him that made him very lucky, because since he's both, he can be Spider-Man or a samurai. He was like, cool, what's a samurai? Okay, mind you, they live in Japan. So that's a cute little story, and I love that. And I love that your son thought he had to be an American in order to be Spider-Man. Again, Spider-Man is an American in the movies. And I like what you said to him. That's a cute moment. Right now, me and my son are watching Invincible on Amazon Prime. Little gory, but it's animated. But we're super into it, and the last episode's coming out of this season tomorrow. And I have to go, I'm gonna be on Sean Ryan's show on Thursday. So try to check that out if you can. That's one of the bigger shows on planet Earth these days. And he's on the right, but he's also joined the forces against the war and against Israel's control. So it should be a really interesting conversation. I was leading somewhere with that, but I forgot. But anyway, it's for Invincible. Since I'm going away, we have to strategize about when to watch the show. When it comes out at midnight, should we watch it in the morning? So those are the cute things you do with kids. All right, Asimov's Prophet says, my moment of joy was doing a culinary experiment this weekend. I made 4 types of Canadian bacon. Well, you had me at bacon. Regular, garlic, cinnamon, and thyme at $2.25 a pound. Tough times are coming, and we all need to learn to create things ourselves if we're going to make it through.
I know, we need to stockpile stuff.
Plus, who doesn't like to make num-nums, he says. I didn't know.
I love num-nums, I can't get enough. I don't know about these num-nums, just keeping it real, not my favorite, but it's okay. You like it, that's all that matters.
Why, what's wrong with that?
I'm not a big Canadian bacon fan.
Huh. All right, no, I like American bacon better, but I like Canadian bacon, God bless. And I'm interested in tasting the cinnamon and thyme one, but I'm very interested in the garlic one. Like that sounds like that'd make a hell of a sandwich. Okay, so, and I love that gives you joy, and that's what you did, and they look beautiful to me. Nick, I always am a little hesitant about your last name, how to pronounce it. Mooter, we've probably been over 12 times. Anyway, he's Happy Warrior. He's part of Operation Hope. Nick wrote in, shout out to the people giving what they can to make the world a better place for everyone. TYT Jank, Cara Eastman, and the rest of Operation Hope, especially but really anyone that has helped. If you're out there protesting or volunteering for an honest candidate or a good cause, you'll fill me with joy and hope for the future. You hear that, Anna? Operation Hope is filled with fighters, people doing the organizing and volunteering work necessary to ensure a progressive future. They inspire me to do more and be more in part, just in an attempt to keep up. Okay, he's got more, but so far, Nick, I love this message. And I agree with you 100%. He says, with the lack of leadership on the left in general, I love everyone willing to spend their time, effort, and resources to help, especially when all of those things are getting scarcer by the day. Volunteer groups and protests are filled with college kids, workers, and grannies all coming together and giving their nights and weekends for a better world, proving there's still a lot of incredible leaders out there. You just have to know where to look. Don't give up. Never forget you deserve the leadership and representatives that will fight for you. Plus, can you think of anything cooler than having progressive leaders that will actually address the problems of the people? I'll wait, wink. Yeah, look, we're hoping to turn that wink into something real, as you know, Nick. And look, if we give up hope, then what are we gonna do? We're just gonna sit on our couch and wait for Armageddon? No. Look, I've said this before too, but as a kid, as I was growing up, I thought, I wonder what I would have done during the Holocaust. Could I have helped? Could I have done anything to make a difference to save those people's lives?
Well, the Nazis are here, and our country funds them.
Yeah, well, no, now we know. Apparently, when there's a genocide, I'd fight like hell to try to prevent it. And I'm proud of that, but Nick, I'm proud of you guys. You guys are fighting for this country, and this is not your job, right? And so you're doing it anyway, and that's why I love you guys so much for all the time and effort you put into it, and we are gonna win. I know it looks so bleak, but the massive darkness comes right before the light, right? So 2028 is everything, guys, everything. But I'll give you one piece of good news that I said last night too, in case you missed it. We told you have a little bit of hope in the Rebellion PAC candidates in 2026, right? So the leader there is Ro Khanna, first guy to sign up as always. But there are others that are great candidates, Randy Bryce and Audrey Downey, so many others. I don't want to Shoyka Chakrabarty, but Richard Ojeda is in a red district with a Republican incumbent, and so they said that election was not winnable. Richard just took the lead. Go support Ojeda in North Carolina 9. Look up Richard Ojeda and make sure you're helping out, okay? So we're in the hope business, and it's not like we haven't done this before. All right, let's go to Deanna Grimm. I've had a couple of rough years. I lost my mom in November of 2024 at 84 years old. Then my only brother last year in September. Last year in the spring, there was a little bird that came to my home office window repeatedly, every day for almost 3 weeks. I've seen occasional birds do this, but mostly robins, and only once or twice in an instance at random. I looked it up last year, and it's some sort of wren I had not otherwise seen around the house. I heard or saw somewhere that birds can represent a lost loved one visiting you, and took some comfort that even if I'm not sure I believe it, on Wednesday, the very same bird, or one exactly like it, showed up at my window again. It's a simple thing, but gave me joy even in my grieving. And then here's a little birdie. Okay, yes, precious. So Deanna, I have a similar story. My mom feels that same way about butterflies. And so, like you said, it's not about whether you believe it literally, physically. It's that it brings her joy to remember her mom. And so I appreciate that she thinks that way. And it gives you another moment to appreciate someone who's passed, and in a beautiful form, whether it's a bird or butterfly, etc. So you enjoy it all you like, and don't worry about anyone else. Anna, can you read some?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Brett Campbell, AKA Dragon My Ass, says, I missed the last Operation Joy because I joined an online support group for people having pet loss grief. Oh my God, that day is coming, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. It was a different kind of joy to be among others who get it about this unique kind of grief and share the sorrow and tears, empathy and compassion with others who genuinely understand the pain of losing a beloved pet. I'm very grateful for the support and plan to attend each month. I don't know if this will help you at all, Brett, but my friend Ben Burgess wrote about losing his dog fairly recently on his Substack. It was really well written, and you might find some comfort in it. Ben Burgess is his name. Progressive Veteran says, I had a joy weekend. My mom took my kids for the whole weekend. You could end it there, totally get it. I don't even have kids and I get it. And spoiled them. Me and my wife made an amazing meal and then went shooting. Fun. I got a new stock for my 22 and got to spend almost 2 hours with my wife out in the middle of nowhere. It was great. That actually does sound amazing.
Yeah.
Just being out in the middle of nowhere sounds amazing. Being there with your favorite person makes it even better. And you're doing a hobby that you love, which makes it even better than that, so.
All right, so.
You don't have to get emotional about it.
So after I'm done with a cough, with a cold, I'll then have a cough for like 2 more weeks. It's so annoying. And when I do, sometimes I get watery eyes. All right, Velvet Jones writes in. To preface this, let me make it absolutely clear that I love being a husband and a father to my core. It's a really amazing experience. That being said, here's my Operation Joy story. I got out of work a bit early the other day, and for the first time in forever, I had the house to myself for an hour.
Oh, it sounds so good.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Don't ever apologize for enjoying that. Anyway, he said, I took the time to connect with an old friend that I haven't spent much time with lately, my drums. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Every day I have the pleasure of being a brewer and a family man. In that moment, however, I got to become an anthropomorphic wrecking ball. I was the bringer of thunder, a whirlwind of chaos. The world outside ceased to exist as I created a sonic landscape around me. I have no regrets about the life that I've built, not a single one. Every day is pretty fantastic. Damn, though, having that experience all to myself brought me pure joy.
You're a brewer and you play the drums? Wife's a lucky woman.
Yeah. So, brother, that's a really important story. Why? Because oftentimes we feel guilty about being happy. In that case, you feel like slightly guilty. That's why you wrote it in that way of like, sorry that I'm enjoying the alone time, right? That doesn't mean you don't love your wife and kids. I love hanging out with my kids, but I also love alone time. And so that's one of the major things that I want to tell you guys through Operation Joy. There's so many little things that are in our head that make us think, don't be happy. Or if you are happy, feel guilty about it. Don't do it that way, don't do it this way, don't do it that way. No, just be happy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No, I took something else away from your submission to Operation Joy. You get older and the things that you spent so much time on getting better at, like whatever the hobby is, right? Whether it's a specific sport that you play, for me it was dance, for you it was playing the drums. You get older, life comes at you quick, and all of these creative outlets that we have that we love that don't tend to make you money, you abandon it because you have no choice. You spend like 16 hours a day working, right? So you can earn a living in America, so your government can take half your earnings and send it over to Israel. But anyway, I have found a lot of joy in reconnecting with dance. And yes, and so the latest thing that I'm teaching myself, because I haven't had a chance to find a dance studio that will do this. There's a type of dance called the shuffle. Don't judge me, whatever.
I don't even know what it is, so I don't know how to judge you.
Okay, so yes, it's fun. I love it. I really wanted to learn how to do it, so I started teaching myself how to do it. And then this past weekend, I was visiting my nieces and I was like, hey, I told one of my nieces, hey, you wanna see me shuffle? She's like, what's that? And she's like this amazing gymnast, by the way. Not easy to impress because she's incredibly impressive. So I started showing her my shuffling moves. And she's like, that's amazing, that's so cool. Can you show me how to do it? So we start shuffling together. But anyway, my point is like, you have room for creativity and exploration when you're a kid, and then you become an adult and that's ripped away from you. So finding those moments to be able to play the drums or dance, whatever it is, I understand that joy, I really do. And we do need to carve out more time for ourselves to do that kind of stuff because it is what makes us human. Like there's a certain connection to it that's really unique and important. And when you like totally let go of it to be an adult, to make your money and pay your bill, like your life sucks.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
It does though, you lose balance, like you need balance.
No, I agree that you need balance. Now I'm gonna tell you things I shouldn't tell you. All right, so there's two types of dance that I did when I was a kid. One was square dancing.
Why?
Because they weirdly made us do it in gym class.
That is weird.
I don't know if that's like an East Coast thing, because Skip's telling me that happened. And Skip, you grew up in Pittsburgh, right?
What even, square dancing is like like that, right?
He said he grew up in Pittsburgh, but also in California, in my junior high school, we had to do square dance.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
And maybe it's an older thing and they cut it out by the time they got to you. But like they'd make us go do-si-do, da-da-da-da, and like, and it's hilarious because like he's sponsored with all these immigrants and Jewish people.
That's hilarious.
So like Turkish, Jewish, Russian, and Indian people are square dancing in this high school. It's kind of hilarious. Anyways, then the other dance I did was Turkish folklore.
Of course you did.
Because my parents made me, of course.
Yeah, my parents made me do Armenian. But Armenian folk dancing is lit. I don't know about, I've never seen Turkish folk dancing.
No, it's very similar, right? I mean, it's lit, except when I'm doing it. It's not, I'm entirely unlit.
Do you guys do fancy footwork?
Yeah, lots of fancy footwork.
Yeah, I love it. I love impressing people with fancy footwork.
Yeah, and nowadays the only times I dance are when I get drunk at weddings or when I get high and no one else is home.
You dance by yourself at home? I wish you hadn't told us that.
No, Mossad's going to release the tapes anyway.
That's the blackmail they've got on you.
Yeah, they're like, he's so boring. All we have is this super awkward dance that we got from his refrigerator.
No, I love it. Isn't it so liberating to be boring?
Oh yeah.
It's so liberating. Yeah. I talk all my trash.
Right here.
Come for me. Come for, I see my camera light turn on. Every time it does, I just take it, look right at it, and give Israel the middle finger.
Okay, seriously, like I don't know what's happening in
Israel spies on us.
Who's spying on what?
Israel.
But we do joke around at home, and every once in a while we'll like wave at the TV and go, "Hi, Mossad." Okay. But that's where we are. Anyways, all right. Last one is the one I promised you from Boomer Dry and Cat. She said, "Cenk, you'll be joyful at this post." Also, you're right, Cat, because to have my joy today was by using your advice. Anyway, as with us all, I've been stressed by the current state of affairs, yet it was so beautiful outside, I made myself go do outside yard cleanup. The key was I approached the chores mindfully and with gratitude for living in such a beautiful place. The hours flew by, and other than a sore back, my mood bloomed. The gratitude built on itself. I try to live my life mindfully. It really helps. Beautiful, Cat. I love it. You're right. It did make me very happy. So, guys, two important things from that. One is gratitude. We've said this many times. I'll continue to say it. Psychologists, sociologists, every kind of scientist has studied what makes you happy, and there are two overwhelming answers. The rest are not even close to these two. One is gratitude. The more appreciative you are, the happier you are, and it makes sense. Because what does appreciation do? It makes you focus on the thing that you liked or made you happy. So it becomes a happiness multiplier by focusing on it, right? So the second thing that makes people happy is connections with other human beings. So family, friends, etc. And that's why a lot of you guys write in with, had this beautiful moment with my son, I had this great moment with my friends, etc. And by the way, a lot of people get a lot of joy out of giving to others. I talked to my family about that. Maybe we'll discuss that in the next Operation Joy over the weekend. And my daughter has some cute ideas that I want to share with you guys. But it's just the act of being with family and friends and sharing those moments that make a difference. But the other thing that's in Kat's post that I don't want you to just go past is being mindful. All it means is, like when I used to hear mindful, like since I grew up as kind of a meathead in Jersey, I was like, oh, that sounds like something a yoga dude would do. Such a meathead, okay? So, but all it means is concentrate. If you're eating a delicious meal, concentrate on the meal so you enjoy it more. Here, you know what? Do this exercise for me and we'll wrap, okay? So the next time you eat a meal, concentrate on it. And the one after that, don't concentrate on it. Don't worry, you don't concentrate on most of your meals. So it'll pop into your head and you'll concentrate in one meal and realize you didn't concentrate in any of the others. And then I want you to contrast in your mind the one you concentrated on and the one you didn't. The one you focused on and the one you didn't. The one you were mindful of and the one you didn't, okay? Because what you'll realize is the ones you're not mindful of, you don't even realize you're eating. You're not even bothering to enjoy it. If you're gonna put on the calories and you're gonna take that weight up, you might as well at least enjoy it, right? So concentrate as you do that and you'll see that you'll get so much more enjoyment out of the food. So way to go, Kat, on both of those fronts. All right, we do have old school tonight. Maybe I'll ask Michael Schur what he danced as a kid. And there's some wild topics tonight. So that's gonna be at 9:30 Eastern. So make sure you're checking that out. We'll come right back here. Members, that's for the members. Everybody else, you get it as a podcast later or you'll see it on one of our 24-hour channels. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.